Well, a lovely Monday afternoon. How are you? And welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, sports1440.ca. As always, brought to you by playalberta.ca, where you can get in the game. Use the promo code Gregor50. And remember, hey, plan ahead. Tomorrow's Lotto Max Lottery, $40 million. Good luck. Get your tickets at playalberta.ca. We got lots and lots to discuss on the show today. It is draft week. I know Oilers fans are like, what? Drafting? What are you talking about drafting? Yes, the Oilers, they do not have a pick in the first round. They don't have a pick in the second round. Their first pick will be 83rd, which is actually the pick they got from the St. Louis Blues. So that'll be in the third round. Now, they might make some trades between now and then to possibly get another draft pick. I think Victor Arvidsson is a player the Oilers would like to move. I think he would like to be moved. He wants to go somewhere where he can get a little bit more of an opportunity. And I kind of chuckle. I'm like, dude, you're playing with Leon Draisaitl most of last year. You had a pretty good opportunity. You just didn't produce very much. Unfortunately for him, it's his last year of his deal. He wants to go somewhere where he can play a little bit more minutes and maybe put up some bigger numbers. So I think that trade will happen. You also have Evander Kane trade that I think is possible to go down. We'll see about that. The Oilers could be in the market to acquire a goaltender. That could happen between now and the draft, even afterwards. We'll see what happens. Of course, free agency begins next Monday, so we'll talk lots about that. There was a trade. Trevor Zegras, it's been rumored for a long time. Well, it finally happened. He gets moved from Anaheim to Philly. So that's the second time now. Of course, Cutter Gauthier, Jamie Drysdale got traded last year for one another, and now they make another move. Ryan Poehling, a second rounder and a fourth rounder. So Ryan Poehling's kind of like a younger journeyman player thus far, a second and a fourth. And Trevor Zegras, man, he came into the NHL, he had back-to-back 60-point seasons. Then the last 2 years haven't been great. He's been injured. He's only played 32 and 57 games in each season. Last year had 32 points in 57 games. Not what you'd want for an offensive-minded player. He's not gritty. He's not defensive-minded. So we'll see what happens for him in New York. In Philly. And Rick Tocchet will be like, all right, Mr. Zegras, let's see what you got here. He's still a young player, and we'll find out what happens. So Kevin Kurz from Philly will join us to break down that trade. Jack Armstrong is going to join us because we got lots to discuss on the NBA front. The OKC Thunder get a win. They finish off one of the greatest seasons in NBA history. 68 wins. They had they had the most double-digit wins ever in a season. Like, they just didn't win games. They dominated a lot of their games. Also, you look at where they're at. Their GM has an unbelievable story. Unreal story. If you don't know the story of Sam Presti, the GM of OKC, it's fantastic. So we'll get into that, but they got the big win last night, and now they have their first championship. They got all their players that are young. They're on contracts that are very friendly, at least for one more season. Heck, their first rounder didn't even play this year because he was injured. Like, they're good. They are deep, and they got 3 more first rounders this year. So we'll figure out what they do. Do they trade some of those picks to get more picks down the road? Because eventually, in the cap era, they're going to have to get rid of some players. That's just how it works, and that's fine. But I'm telling you, man, the OKC Thunder, if you're a basketball fan, that team is good. They're exciting. Their superstar player kind of goes against the grain a little bit because he'll take the mid-range jumper. He's not always looking for 3 points all over the place. It's pretty good. So we'll talk about all of that. We also touch on a little draft talk. Of course, Shane Malloy will join us talking draft. Kevin Woodley's going to come by in the 3 o'clock hour. So Oilers fans, there's lots to talk about goaltending. The GM said it. They want to make some changes to their goaltending. And obviously, I think it's going to happen. Maybe free agency or maybe a trade. We'll see either one. But if it is free agency, we're going to go through the free agent goaltenders that are available. And with Woodley, which one's style fits best with how the Oilers play? Because that is very key. You can't just look at save percentage and goals against and saves above expected and say, oh, well, that guy had good numbers on his team, so he'll automatically have good numbers here. Not always how it works. So we'll get to all of that. We'll get your text 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. You can text us in our inbox. Is there a goalie you like? I'm curious. Is there a goalie you like? If you had your pick, let us know. And we welcome in Sean Brown, former NHLer. Brownie, how you doing?
Good weekend. It was pretty exciting. I've never been to an Elks home opener before, so that was kind of neat.
Really? You never been to you've been to an Elks game, just wasn't the home opener.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was good. Yeah, the crowd was lots going on. They have the old fire truck going on, different bands and cheerleaders, and yeah, we actually enjoyed it. We didn't really plan on it, which was, my wife's a very organized plan type of person.
You guys didn't crash any parties afterwards or anything?
No, it was cool. No. We were tired. We were exhausted. So it was kind of nice. Just it was a beautiful evening. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the stadium and the way it was set up. I don't know how many people are actually there. I don't know if you were there, but I think there was 15,000.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, so it looked bare
on a rainy day. Yeah, it wasn't great. It was good entertainment, and the Elks just need to win a few games here. And that's going to help them.
Yeah, and that's kind of. I left just before I think Trey Ford had a little bit of a run or a play. I could hear the crowd kind of going crazy as we left, but they made a game of it. It was too bad they didn't get a win. But anyway, the weekend was good. We did that little family forced fun golf, which was good. My daughter's not that into golf, neither is my wife, but we went out as a group and got rained on, but it was fun. Good weekend. And it sounded like you had a fun weekend with soccer and with the family.
Yeah, my son won his first ever tournament. He's finished second multiple times, and so it was happy to win that. And hey, they got ice cream afterwards, so that's a
trophy.
Extra, no trophies, just a medal.
Yeah, they don't give out any trophies anymore. A lot of it is like medals. Trophies are hard to find.
Yeah, some to me, like, he plays ball hockey too, and they hand out a thing like just for playing. I don't like it. Like, honestly, even my son was like, "Dad, I don't like. What is this? Like, we lost in the semifinals, which is fine, but you don't need a medal for that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a participation ribbon. Like, it's kind of a waste. Like, it's clutter that we don't need. Like, it's just, what do you do with that? It gets thrown away. Yeah. It's a waste of commercialism that we just simply do not need. The kids are like, plus, if you win something, it's worth more.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, hey, we earned this. Yeah. Like, you lose in the first round of the playoffs, you've earned nothing. No offense. You shouldn't get here's a participation thing. I'm sorry. I don't buy into that.
I agree. I actually gave out trophies to our 3-on-3 this year, and I thought it was great. And not every kid got one. And I put out criteria on how you can get one. And I thought I liked it. I mean, kids were disappointed, the ones that didn't get it. But overall, I think you're right. When kids know there's something that they can get, and if they put the work in and actually get it, there's value in getting it. And for the kids that don't get it, there's value in working towards getting something as well.
Yes, 100%. I think it's a benefit. So watched the NBA final. It was a great game. Unfortunately, injury to Tyrese Haliburton, that put a little damper on. I still don't know if it would have been enough to beat the Thunder. We'll never know. But I give the Pacers a lot of credit. They got it out in the second half, though. The Thunder just took over, and they were the better team. They had more skill. They were destined to win. I think they just and they win. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander completes one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen in the NBA. It was Western Conference MVP Finals, regular season MVP, scoring leader, like just stuff you don't see to do very often. MJ did it 4 times. Shaq did it once. Kareem, back when he was Lou Alcindor, before he was even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He did it once as well. And this team is loaded for the future. I don't know if you're a basketball guy or not, but man, the Thunder are a team to watch. Their GM, I love his story for Sam Presti, the youngest GM when he came in at age 29, 19 years ago. How many teams keep a GM that long? Right? There's something to be said. I get moving around in and out. We see it now. Coaches are like, oh, have you been here 2 years? It's a little bit too long. So it's a great lesson that you don't always have to change if you have a plan, because you don't win all the time. They got good again, and then they had to kind of rebuild as Durant and Westbrook and Harden all left. Like, think about that. That was some pretty good drafting to have all those guys. Serge Ibaka, same thing. So, and now this time around they won, and man, they're set up to they're going to be a legit contender. And them And don't count out the Houston Rockets. Like, you look at those two teams, you look at the teams they have, and then you look at how many draft picks they have. Like, my goodness, they're a great example of, you know what? Now they probably, like, they got a little lucky. No one thought Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, when he was traded, was going to be this good 6 years later. No one thought it.
Yeah.
Right? But he's turned out to be legit, and you know, the rest of their team is pretty solid. Lou Dort, undrafted. Like, as a Canadian, there's an awesome success story. This guy is just an absolute baller defensively, and he can shoot big threes at times when you need it.
Yeah, I actually watched the majority of the final game. Obviously, being a game 7 in any sport is interesting for any sports fan. But yeah, it was that Alexander was as advertised. I mean, he's fun to watch, and the depth and the skill eventually just kind of, you know, Indiana just couldn't, you know, keep up the pace. But, you know, it's always tough when you're a star player. But I thought for a while there with them just kind of, you know, in a 1-game series, you know, you never know. But I kind of thought they would hang on. And I just, you know, being a bit of a Toronto Raptors fan and watching Siakam kind of look like he was having a game and maybe going to kind of hold them in the game for a little while, but it just not enough. So yeah, it was a fun game. I think they had it wrapped up with what, like around 9 minutes or whatever. So the ending wasn't as, wasn't right down to the wire or anything like that, but it's always good to see now, you know, another great Canadian basketball player for us to watch and kind of get behind. So yeah, it'll be, and they seem to have that young core that you're talking about, but I enjoy it. I mean, especially I love the physicality of the basketball in the playoffs, and, you know, those guys handle the ball so well. And just, I mean, and now they shoot, like, you got that 3-point line, which pretty much means nothing because guys can pretty much, you know, score threes from anywhere on the court now.
Well, yeah, they can shoot bombs all over the place. It is draft week. So, Brownie, you look at the Edmonton Oilers. Stan Bowman outlined it pretty clear what his plan is for this team in the offseason. Like, they don't really have any people like, oh, they got to add defensemen. No, they don't. They're 5 starting defensemen at the start of next year will be better than the 5 they started with last year because Jake Wallman wasn't here last year when they started. So they're automatically better there. They'll have 9 defensemen who played in the NHL last year, 8. And then they've got Regula, who they acquired on waivers last year, hasn't played. And then, oh, by the way, they added the guy who set the Finnish Elite League scoring record amongst defensemen with 63 points last year. So in 60 games. And, I don't know about Arto Leppinen. I want to see him. I've never watched him, but we'll see where it comes. They've got enough defensemen to start the season. Wingers and goaltender is where they're going to change. So I'm going to ask you, do you think they trade for a goalie that means Skinner goes out, or they trade or sign a goalie that means it's a tandem with Skinner?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I am a Skinner fan, and I think for his price point and for what he's done, I know he hasn't won the big game. I still like him. I still feel like, you know, you could, you know, have the number 1 goalie or the best goalie with the best numbers, and there's no guarantee. So I see Skinner as someone that's going to be here, and maybe you bring in someone that maybe a little bit more of a proven veteran that can maybe help stabilize. But having said that, I mean, Pickard, what else could the guy have done? Right. I mean, you know, it's just, you know, or do we, I don't know if we're undervaluing Pickard or, you know, a guy for what he's done in the situation that he's been in. Is all he's done is delivered. Is he a goalie that, you know, in a different organization, does he get picked up as a depth guy, and does another organization?
Well, but you can't just keep Pickard as your number 3?
Yeah. You're going to keep 3 goalies around?
No, but if someone's going to claim him on waivers at the end of training camp, they'd have to have no backup goalie because he's got to stay on their roster.
Yeah.
Like lots of teams nowadays like to have a 3rd goalie in case of injury.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I just feel like Pickard has done so much to prove and for what he's been given has just delivered. So, on the other hand, does Skinner need a change? Right. I mean, you know, is he in a situation where, you know, maybe, you know, does he need a new environment? Right. Because, you know, it's obviously not easy playing here, being an Edmonton guy. You know, I really like the way he played, you know, especially when he played, you know, or when the team played well in front of him, you know, So I still think he's a goalie that I would still keep around, and probably if you can bring someone that's a little bit more established, a backup that maybe could work well with him. I still think he's got game left and has the ability to still, win this team a Stanley Cup.
I would lean more on Skinner plus another goalie because I don't see, like, I know people say, okay, you bring in John Gibson. I'm like, okay. And then what happens if he gets hurt? Then what do you do? Right? Like, you're a team that's in their window to win right now. Like, I know there's people that are saying, hey, Thatcher Demko, bring him in from Vancouver. Now, he has 1 year left at $5 million. And when he's on, he's a pretty good goalie. I don't debate that. It's Edmonton, Vancouver. It's in your division. You probably got to overpay to make that deal happen. It would be interesting to me that it's a unique one that was brought up to me. Frank Saravalli mentioned it, and I was like, my concern about that is same with Gibson is your best availability. That's your best ability is availability. Yeah. And those guys have an injury history. Do I want to be, it's March 30th. We finished second or first in the division. We're a week away from playoffs. Injury happens, and now the guy is out for the playoffs. That's my concern.
So do you think he needs a change of scenery? Does he need a change in goaltending? Skinner. Does he need a change maybe in goaltending? A goaltending coach, a different voice?
Well, that's possible. As I outlined on Friday's show, the assistant coaches' contracts are up. And so that's something that will be discussed, I'm sure. And I want to preface this by saying anybody who's listened to my show, read my stuff at Orders Nation, I'm not a pound the drum fire coach guy because I don't really believe in it. But eventually change will happen, right? Players get changed. You get changed at work. I get changed at work. It happens. And so that's a question that I'm sure will be discussed internally, right? Kevin Woodley, we're going to talk about some available names out there. And that's the thing. It's not like there's a long list of available NHL goalie coaches, right, that are established in the NHL because they're under contract. Now, if you wanted to, you could get Ian Clark out of Vancouver. Now, Ian Clark, because he's not really doing goalie, he's not their goalie coach anymore. He's their goalie scout. He kind of got bumped down because they didn't want to just pay him to do nothing. So they kind of demoted him, right? Because he said, didn't want to be on the ice as much. He wanted to be like their goalie director. You would still work with it, but you'd have one guy who's on the ice more every day. And him and Sean Burke are two guys that you could have. And it was more the physical toll. He couldn't get into the butterfly anymore at 57 years of age, right? As often as you like. And so, but you don't have to be a good coach to get in the butterfly to understand the position, right? If you can explain it. And, Ian Clark has a pretty good reputation of being a good goalie coach. Like the years he was in Columbus, they drafted a goalie every year for like 8 years and 6 of them made to the NHL. Like that's pretty good, right? When you consider goaltenders. So you could do that with Clark. You could go Sean Burke, probably more in like create a whole goalie development program. Now that's a bigger investment, but if I'm the Edmonton Oilers and I look at the position and I see how important it is and how important it is to develop your own, that's not a place I'd cut corners.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? And I'm not coming down on Dustin Schwartz. I think that, and I've worked with him before, and I think that he's good at what he does. I just think, like anything, it's a lot easier to get rid of a coach than it is an actual player. Yeah. And I think that Stuart Skinner has enough upside. It's like a change of voice, right? Yeah. And a different way of looking at things. And for goalie coaches, I don't know what it's like, but I imagine it's probably a lot easier to be a goalie development guy to kind of overlook a program than it would be to live the day-to-day, the wins and losses. Because I imagine, a goalie coach and any coach can only do so much. And when a goalie's struggling, I'm sure it's probably not easy being in a dressing room or a coach's room when a lot of the conversation would be directed at you. There's only so much you can do. So being in that position where you're in the line of fire, but actually really not in a position where you can, you're not playing. So, but yeah, I would like to see a different voice, which could maybe bring out a different side, or a different guy that could see something different in his game where he can make maybe some adjustments and tweaks before you actually just gave up on the guy and maybe brought someone in. I think you need to maybe exhaust a few other options before you give up on this.
I think that's fair. And I would agree. Actually wrote that on Friday on the show. So at Oilers Nation. So I would agree. When we come back, change of scenery. Sometimes it happens. It's been rumored for a while the trade finally happened. We'll discuss it next. It's the Jason Gregor Show, Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X, presented by playalberta.ca.
You don't want to miss the party of the summer at On the Rocks.
Sunday, June 29th.
Catch Edmonton's #1 party band, the Barkels, live at OTR. Live at OTR.
Drink specials all night.
$5.25 highballs.
$5 PBR.
Oh, and we can't forget the $5 Jaeger and Jameson.
Yeah, it's going to be that kind of party.
Live, loud, and legendary.
Sunday, June 29th.
At On the Rocks.
Jasper Ave 118th.
At Fountain Tire, success is a team effort. They're committed to their team members and their customers. And that means treating your vehicle like it's their own and finding solutions that suit your needs. Because whatever the road brings ahead, they're on it with you. Visit fountaintire.com today.
Are you an elite athlete or weekend warrior and you just want to enjoy playing the sport you love with less or even no pain? Have you tried every exercise and stretch imaginable, hoping the next one might do the trick? Well, you tried analog. At Leading Edge Physiotherapy, we believe healing can move along better and sometimes even faster with evidence-based technology techniques and the people who know how and when to apply it. StimPod, zero-gravity treadmills, radial shockwave, and so much more at your fingertips when you click to find us at leadingedgephysio.com.
Actions speak louder than words. Japa Machinery Group puts your construction plan into action with XCMG construction machinery you need. Available for rental or sale. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
You don't have to wait. Boxing Day is back at the Brick. For 4 days, shop incredible deals, like mattresses starting at just $99. Save big on genuine leather sofas and sectionals. Queen beds start at only $199. And save the tax when you buy 2 or more major kitchen appliances. Plus, get free local delivery on outdoor furniture purchases of $499 or more. Some exclusions apply. See in store for details. Boxing Day starts Friday at the Brick, saving you more.
Rivalries run deep in Alberta football.
Edmonton all the way. Calgary rules.
But when it comes to the best snack for 3-down fun, there's no Battle of Alberta. It's a clear winner.
Wilhock Beef Jerky.
The one thing every Alberta fan agrees on. So whether you're watching the game from your recliner or in the stands, make it a part of your game day.
Wilhock Beef Jerky, because you don't win games with salad. Only available in Leduc.
Mr. Rooter toasts the newlywed.
A relationship is like a hot water tank. It brings warmth, but only if you start with a spark. Your love is the pilot light, and the burner is your love growing from that tiny spark. And the anti-corrosion anode rod is the sacrifices you make for each other to keep things from getting all gross and crusty. May your love last as long as a Mr. Rooter workmanship guarantee. For life.
For a plumber you'll keep for life, call Mr. Rooter.
Day or night, tasting just so right. You can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca, delivering you the news almost right away. Remember, you can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca. So stay on your couch all day and order oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle noodle.
When you get into a new RAV4, you might suddenly find yourself camping, even if the closest you've been to nature is your houseplants. Because with all-wheel drive, you can get in and right out of there. All that's left to do is drive it home. Get in and go right now at Toyota, where you can lease a 2025 RAV4 LE all-wheel drive from $96 weekly for 60 months at 6.59% with $3,899 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer today.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, your clear choice for residential windows, locally manufactured and installed. Crystal Glass provides a beautiful product and incredible customer services for all of your residential needs. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca for a quote.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.224, welcome back. Jason Gregor, Sean Brown, Connor Halley, Sports 1440. sports1440.ca, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Hope you are having a lovely Monday as we are 8 days away from free agency. We also have a draft week. Not that big for Oilers, but it is big for a lot of other teams. And Shane Malloy will join us. It could be big as far as the Oilers. They might get a few other draft picks if they trade some of their guys away and get some mid-round draft. They're not going to get a first. I'm going to get a second. Let's kind of pump the brake. Well, maybe a second for Kane. You might get that. So we'll see. But there are some trades. We've had a few trades lately. On the weekend, Burakovsky got traded to Chicago for Joe Veleno. And then a trade that has been talked about and rumored for a while finally came to fruition today as we go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. Right now, baby. $2 Sundays, $2 snack size milkshakes, and if you only use the app, $1 cones only at McDonald's. So good. And the trade, of course, Trevor Zegras is no longer a member of the Anaheim Ducks. He is now a Philadelphia Flyer. Ryan Poehling, a second and a fourth, going to Anaheim in exchange. To break it all down, longtime NHL reporter, now covering the beat in Philly for The Athletic, Kevin Kurz joins us. Kev, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, Kev, I don't know if Zegras' name, you'd seen it out there a lot or not. Well, as far as connection to Philly, we'd seen it out there for a long time. The Flyers, to me, this is a kind of a low bet for them. They didn't have to give up a lot. And they get a guy who came into the NHL as a 2-time 60-point scorer, hasn't done much in the last few seasons, but I think they're betting on a bounce back and maybe some help.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at what this team needs. And Danny Briere said last week, basically calling around the league looking for centers is almost impossible, is the phrase that he used. So they're basically bringing in a guy that's played left wing for the last 2 years and hoping they can move him back to center in order to fill what's a pretty significant void. I mean, this team, in terms of their center depth, it's one of the worst in the league. So, we haven't spoken to Briere yet. That's going to happen in about a half an hour. I imagine he's going to tell us that he envisions Zegras playing center. They're going to give him every opportunity to play center on one of the top two lines. Maybe they put him with Matvei Michkov. Maybe they put him with Owen Tippett to try to unlock him a little bit more. But I would be surprised if we don't see Trevor Zegras return to the middle of the ice. And Pat Verbeek basically said the same thing, that Zegras wants to play center again. And obviously they have a logjam there a little bit in Anaheim with guys like Carlson and McTavish. So moving Zegras to Philly here gives them a chance to play the position that he wants to play.
Kevin, I'm kind of curious to see the relationship between Tocchet and Zegras. Obviously, Zegras is kind of a highlight reel type of player. I know Rick Tocchet was a hard-nosed, hard to play against, but I think he has a good balance and understanding what it's like to be with and coach these skilled players. What do you think this type of relationship is going to be like?
Yeah, we'll see, right? I mean, we heard the same things last year when everyone was so concerned about Matvei Michkov and John Tortorella coexisting. I think these days, coaches like Torts, coaches like Rick Tocchet, they're smart enough to know that you've got to be able to let the guy play to his strengths, right? Neither Michkov nor Trevor Zegras is ever going to be a Selke winner, but they are guys that can create offense. And this is a team that desperately needs more players like Michkov, more skilled players in order to create offense. Particularly on the power play. The power play has been the worst in the league. It was dead last the two previous seasons before this one when they finished 30th, I think it was. So they certainly need more help on the power play. But we'll see. I think Rick Tocchet's been around long enough that he knows that you're not going to turn Trevor Zegras into a checking center. You're going to have to let him take some chances from time to time and showcase that skill.
Kevin Kurz joins us. So, Kev, you look at the Flyers and the makeup of their roster and kind of where they're at. They got some draft picks. Where do you see this season going for them? And do you see them going after a goaltender? Or are they just going to let both of these young guys continue to develop and see if one of them can take the role?
No, I don't think there's any doubt they're going to be looking for a goaltender. I know they're looking for a goaltender, frankly. they know that the market is thin as well, right? You look at the free agent options, there's not much there. We'll see some other guys will inevitably get moved. I'm sure that's a big topic of discussion up in your part of the woods right now too. So I think that's the bare minimum that Briere has to do from now until the start of the season is find another goaltender. I mean, they literally might have had Sam Erson's a guy that I think they still believe in him. They think he's a guy that's better than his numbers reflect, and I actually agree with that. And we've seen Erson thrive in some international competitions lately. He had the one game in the Four Nations where he shut out the Americans. He went to the World Championships and helped that team win bronze. Like, I think he's got a good head on him. I think he's still developing. I think he can be a good tandem goaltender. The two guys that were beneath him this season were arguably the two worst goalies in the league. You can really make that case. So he needs some help. I mean, even if it's just a Band-Aid solution for a couple of years, a year or two, that would be a massive upgrade over what they had here this season.
What went wrong with Fedotov? Was that just a bad signing? Like, was it a bad risk? What is it?
Yeah, sure. Looks like it. I remember reaching out to Marty Baron, who I'm sure is a friend of you guys as well. And Fedotov's first NHL game was in Buffalo, and he came out for his warm-up lap. And Marty Baron told me, he's like, as soon as I saw him skating around, he couldn't believe how poor of a skater he was. Now, that was, just a couple weeks after he'd come over to North America, and I'm sure it's something he worked on all over the summer. But he really just never looked comfortable from the start of this past season. He's a big guy. He doesn't look smooth at all. A lot of times he would make saves just because of how massive he is in the crease, and obviously that's a good trait to have. Your goaltender is to be big, but
right.
When it came to moving side to side and tracking shots from the point, I mean, he really struggled with that. And there were flashes from time to time where he looked like he was pretty good, but I don't think you can count on him going into next season. He's only got one more year left on his deal. I don't think he's movable at all. He's making, I think, 3.25 or something. So, it looked like a massive mistake. And the other kid they had, Kolosov, is just I didn't think he was very good, and I didn't think he had a very good attitude. So it was pretty much a disaster from a goaltending perspective for the Flyers last year. Yeah.
Kevin, I was just curious, obviously you got to work with Torts from the media's point of view. What was it like working with him? And did you have any altercations or anything to do with that?
No, I liked covering Torts, honestly. If I was a younger writer, I would probably have been a little bit more intimidated because you always walk into the press conference room wondering, is this the day you're going to go viral or whatever? I had a good relationship with him. I thought, he was very honest, and I think the fans here really appreciated that. I mean, he would sit there. You'd see online, he'd come up and have a 30-second press conference after a game when he was all pissed off and whatever. That happens from time to time. But more times than not, on the days between games, he would sit up at that podium and he'd answer questions honestly for 12 minutes, 15 minutes sometimes. Maybe that didn't – he was so honest too. I really think that a lot of the stuff he was telling us was the same stuff he was telling the players, and maybe that didn't always go over so well with some of the guys in the dressing room. But I don't care about that. I want him to be honest and interesting, and he was always honest and interesting when we talked to him. Haven't talked to him at all since he got fired. As a matter of fact, I texted him this morning and try to see if he might want to talk, and I haven't heard back from him. So he might just be radio silence at this point. But I have heard he wants to keep coaching. So maybe the final chapter hasn't been written on him just yet.
The Flyers have 6 picks in the first 2 rounds. They got theirs, they got the Oilers, they got the Avs, and they got theirs, the Ducks, and the Flames in the second round. Do you see Briere trying to package those up to make a trade, especially those first rounders?
Yeah, I mean, I could see him trying to move up. I could, I look at a guy like Caleb. I always say this wrong. Caleb Denoyer.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy that they could be targeting, but I don't think he's going to be around at number 6 either. So, if Chicago is willing to move that pick, maybe that's something that the Flyers consider doing. I know, there's a lot of speculation that there's going to be finally some movement in terms of trades at the top of the draft list this year, which would be obviously a change from the norm for most drafts because that hardly ever happens. And Briere said last week they've explored moving up. They've explored moving back. I think they need another high-end center in the organization. You're not necessarily going to get that at the 6th overall pick. So, they've always looked at the 2023, 2024, and 2025 drafts as what's going to be the foundation for their system moving forward. So I still think they're going to, especially after today's news, I think they're probably going to end up using most of those picks. Still have 6 picks left in the top 50. That's a pretty good chance to help restock your system. But I could also see a situation where, if there's a guy they like that's sort of, maybe drifting past 13, 14, 15 in the first round, maybe you see them be aggressive and try to package some of those later picks in order to move up and pick a guy that they really like.
Any names you're hearing that they're leaning towards?
You know what? I've seen Hagen's name out there a lot, and I know there was a report in the Philadelphia Inquirer that said the Flyers met with him. I also heard yesterday that they don't necessarily like him, that might all be a smokescreen. So I think he's a guy that a lot of Flyers fans were excited about, and not to pour cold water on that, but and as you guys know, it's tough to know what to believe this time of year. But I did hear yesterday that Hagen's isn't necessarily a guy that they like or that they're in love with. I do think they like a guy like Brady Martin, who could certainly who probably will be around the 6th overall, I would think.
Maybe a hell of a player. He fits exactly to their style.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, and I'm not an expert on these draft prospects, but I've read enough about these guys that I could see him being a guy that sort of piques their interest. So I could see any number of things. I could see them trying to move up. I could see them using the 6th overall pick. I could see them maybe even trading back a spot or two if they think Martin is a guy that will be available at 8 or 9 if there's a chance to get another asset.
Dave, give us a Michkov update. Did you notice a difference when Torts was fired and Shaw came as an intern? Did you notice anything different in his game? And do you think that Rick Tocchet will have a good influence on it?
Well, I will say that Torts, and I think Tortorella handled Michkov just fine. There were times, he scratched him and he benched him at times, and maybe he was a little bit harder on him than your average coach would be, but Michkov needed work on his two-way game, right? He was cheating a lot. He was getting caught on the wrong areas of the ice, and Torts was trying to teach him, and I think he did get through to him. And there was a report in Russian after the season where Michkov was talking about how he enjoyed playing for Tortorella. And there was, I think what the Flyers liked from management's perspective is that whenever Tortorella was hard on him, Michkov would come back with a little bit of a, FU attitude and try to stick it to him, and he would pick his game up. And so I think they were encouraged by that aspect of Michkov's personality. The one thing that Michkov didn't agree with was his ice time. And we saw when the coaching change was made, Brad Shaw, I think, was giving him like 3 minutes more ice time on average. And he was letting him run a little bit, right? Take some chances. So I would guess that it's probably, I would guess Rick Tocchet's going to give Michkov more ice time than Tortorella did. But, that's also only natural too, right? As a guy in his second year, and probably more prepared physically for the rigors of NHL hockey is going to get himself in better shape in order to handle those minutes.
Lastly, what about Lapierre? Obviously, I think he wanted the coaching job. He didn't get it. Do you see him getting a coaching job here and leaving his current role?
Yeah, I've heard that if another coaching opportunity came up, he would leave his role here as I think, what do they list him as, a senior advisor or hockey operations advisor. I'm not sure how many AHL jobs are left right now. I haven't been following it super closely. So yeah, that's he's been around a long time. I think he did some good work with some of the prospects here. You've seen guys like Tyson Forster come up and have an impact. I think Cam York is a guy that worked well with Lapierre. So that'll be interesting to see. But I do know, I did hear this morning from a league source that the Flyers are going to fill that spot with a guy named John Snowden, who's been the assistant coach here with the Phantoms for the last 2 years. So I don't know when that announcement is coming, but he's going to be the next coach of the Phantoms, John Snowden. He was also an assistant with the Toronto Marlies for 2 years.
Okay. Awesome. Kev, great stuff, man. We appreciate it, and enjoy the next week. The Flyers, I think, should be an interesting one when it comes to some trades, whether it's and picks and what have you. So either way, you'll be busy.
Yep, that's right. Just how we like it.
Thanks, man.
Jason.
Have a good one.
Good talking to you. Yep. Take care.
It's Kevin Kerrs joining us from Philadelphia. They acquire Trevor Zegras. And first thing is, they want to play him center. He wants to be a center. Well, we'll see. They'll give him an opportunity. I think Zegras, the one thing he's probably going to have to get in a little bit better shape. He's got to move the puck quicker. That's just a fact. He's not big enough to slow the game down. That's just kind of the truth of the matter.
Does Philly have him at a good time too, where things aren't quite going in the way he would like them to go?
Well, you get a wake up call sometimes. Say, oh, geez, you know what? Here we go. And I think Rick Tocchet is someone that's Rick Tocchet. You know what? He just, if you give him your best effort, he'll be fine. And so I think in Zegras' case, like, you can be flashy if it's successful.
And Rick Tocchet, I think, would be a guy that would benefit a lot of guys, similar to a Torts. And I think, that's one thing that, they've talked about there is these players want to be coached. They want to be held to a standard that's fair, and firm. And if they do it, they just want to know that they're going to get rewarded for it. And Tocchet, to me, seems like the perfect guy for a Zegras, where he's just kind of at a crossroads in his career where, he's obviously ultra talented, little nicked up, should be coming back healthy. And it sounds like it's a good fit. It's a team that needs some offense that he can provide. And I think, with the guidance and, if there's a relationship that can be built there, it could be a benefit for both parties.
When we return, we will talk championships and how right now Canada dominating on a lot of fronts. We'll return on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
The Discovery Day sales event is on now at Volvo Cars Edmonton. It's your final month to lease a 2025 XC90 plug-in hybrid from 1.49% and save $5,000. Lease or finance a 2025 XC60 plug-in hybrid from 0.49% and save $4,000. Lease or finance a 2025 XC40 from 0.49% and save up to $2,000. Come and discover the deals now at Volvo Cars Edmonton. Great vehicles, better services. Only at VolvoCarsEdmonton.com.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310-GLASS or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
Experience Edmonton Stingers Pro Basketball. Bring the whole crew on Sunday, June 29th at 4 p.m. It's the most affordable, family-friendly, fun sports experience in the city. Tickets start at just $20. thestingers.ca.
Reports suggest that Canadian taste buds are bored to tears.
My mouth can't handle another dull drink.
Summertime smoothie experts everywhere are recommending a watermelon wake-up from Booster Juice.
It's so smooth, cool, and refreshing.
And ridiculously delicious. Enjoy the Watermelon Wave and Watermelon Explosion smoothies, available all summer long at a Booster Juice near you. Stay cool, Canada.
Booster Juice, Canadian born, blending since 1999.
Bringing every project to life requires the right team. By joining the Japa Machinery Group service or sales teams, you can be part of setting a new industry standard. Celebrating a legacy of excellence with Japa. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk, family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk, elevate your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Japa Machinery. Japa is digging deep on their 50-year history of supporting Alberta's construction industry with their line of special edition blackout excavators. Visit japamachinery.com for all the details.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.245. Welcome back. Lovely Monday afternoon for the kids. The final week of school. Oh, how jacked up are you in elementary or junior high? I know high school kids are probably just wrapping up finals if they're not already done. But either way, hope you enjoy your last few days. Teachers, you have earned it. That is a very tough job. At times unforgiving. Probably a little bit underrated. So kudos to all of the teachers who will need some time to I would think exhale and wind down, because that is a tough gig. Can be rewarding at times, but also very difficult, very challenging. So kudos to all the teachers in their final week. Enjoy it. Now let's get to our basketball report, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. No time off for them. Guess what? And all it is savings for you. No payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC unit. Book in today at legacyheating.ca. And we're going to talk a little basketball as the OKC Thunder complete what really was a dream season for them. They won 68 games. They had over 50 games of double-digit victories. Like, they were dominant this season. Did take to a game 7, but they won it in convincing fashion. Gilgeous-Alexander, the Canadian, finishes off a season that only Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, and Lou Alcindor can say they matched what he did, winning the scoring title, winning the regular season MVP, winning the championship, and the finals MVP. He was also the conference final MVP. Pretty good year. Jack Armstrong, a longtime analyst for TSN, joins us. And Jack, just this Thunder team is legit. And man, they got a chance to be really good for a long time.
Yes, they are. They're a wonderful team. And the way things are set up right now in terms of their cap and the assets they have available to them in terms of draft picks and pick swaps and things of that nature, they are positioned quite well. So we'll see how it all goes. I mean, you have some guys on their team right now, Gilgeous-Alexander being the top one, extension eligible. So it's going to cost them some money. And then you start staring at the luxury tax and the first apron, second apron, and things for a small market like Oklahoma City start to get very complicated. So Sam Presti's done a good job managing, navigating the landscape there and building a tremendous organization over the years. And, I'm sure he'll have plan B, C, D, E all set up to deal with all this, because it's really hard to keep excellent teams together now because of just how the collective bargaining agreement is set up.
Yeah, now they're lucky because they don't have that for next year, right? Like, none of the new deals kick in, so they got one more year. And you know what? Their top pick from last year didn't even play in top pick because he was injured. They got 3 first rounders this year. Like, that's the one area where they might be able to stay if you keep a few of the guys and then just kind of rotate in some of the other ones, because they've got so many picks, Jack. Like, unless they suddenly just and they're developing and scouting's been pretty good. So unless they suddenly tank, they should be able to at least be able to replace some of their big guys with some of these draft picks in the next few years.
Yeah, you're going to have to, and it's hard because you get sentimental and you get close to guys, and they're a big part of the fabric of your success. But Sam Presti's a pretty cold-blooded guy, and he's loyal and he's great, and they treat people right. And at the same time, they're going to have to make some decisions sometimes that are going to kind of smack in the face of that. And, you have to understand that the big economic landscape that's in place, if you're going to have to make decisions that sometimes aren't comfortable, and which is unfortunate, but that's how the system's set up. The players are, the new television deal, which is $76 billion US that kicks in this year. You're going to see the salary cap rise, 10% a year, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So, everyone, so if a guy's not with your team, he's going to benefit somewhere else. But what you're going to see as well is that the idea of having a big 3/big 4 could happen, but basically the rest of the team is going to be playing close to a minimum salary because you're going to become top heavy. So you really got to do a good job of hitting on the ones that you think are the great players.
Jack, in my mind, Steve Nash is probably the best Canadian basketball player, but at the end of Alexander's career, do you see him potentially being the best Canadian basketball player?
Well, I would say on the path that he's on right now, he has the potential to be that. Yeah. I would say right now, to your point, I think Steve Nash is that guy because he's a 2-time MVP and a Hall of Famer. And, someone's got to top that. But I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander definitely has the potential and, more importantly, the maturity and the mindset to do it. I mean, he's a winner. You look at how he carries himself. He's a chill dude. He's a calm, calculated. He's a gym rat. He loves playing. He's just a special talent, and he's a really sound person with great principles. And success isn't going to sway him one bit. And I think he fits that market too. He's not all caught up and wrapped up with the glitz and glitter. He's a baller. He really cares about winning and doing the right thing. And I'm really happy for him. He's a nice young man.
Jack Armstrong, Joseph. Well, Jack, and he's also a little bit of a throwback. There's not many guys who shoot the mid-range jumper as often, as efficiently as him. It just doesn't happen in today's game. I love it.
Well, I've always been of the opinion two's better than none. And get to your spots. And if you're going to, I'd rather you score than not score. Sometimes people are saying, we'll settle for the average to below average 3 versus the good 2.
Yeah.
And to me, I think it's all about quality shots and efficiency. And, 3's better than 2 and 2's better than 1. But I'll tell you what, if you can string together singles, doubles, triples, any way, shape, or form you can, and they're good shots, you're going to end up helping your team win, and you're going to define the success of your team. And he gets to the free throw line a ton. He does a great job drawing fouls. He's an excellent guy, to your point about the mid-range. He has an assortment of moves. He's very creative with the ball, and he can shoot the 3 as well. So he's an outstanding modern-day player. And he's a good defender. And so to me, I think he's figured it out. And, obviously having worked for the Raptors for 27 years, I got to see DeMar DeRozan for years. And DeMar was and still is a tremendous mid-range player. But I think Shai has his game has had another gear, and DeMar, in my opinion, when it's all said and done, could end up in the Hall of Fame. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on the path to doing something really beautiful things.
Jack, now you mentioned the Raptors and Pascal Siakam, man. He was huge for the Pacers in this series. And you know what? I think sometimes when the Raptors won, Kawhi, and even Lowry, but man, you look at it and Pascal Siakam and just kind of what he's done with Toronto and then what he's done since it's been pretty remarkable and maybe a little bit still undervalued or underrated in what he brings.
It's interesting. I think Masai Ujiri had a higher value point of Siakam than most of the people in the league. And then when it was time to have to trade him, I think, they probably did hold on to him a little too long because I think they made a decision that they were going to move on and like regroup, reboot, which they're doing right now. But I think a lot of the league missed the boat on how good he is.
Yeah.
And I think it's sometimes I just think the fact that we're playing here in Canada, people just don't realize how good he got. And as much as basketball people, GMs, executives, coaches know players, I think in some way, shape, or form, and it happens, the media bias and the talking heads that in many cases don't really know it as well as they're supposed to, lower the value of a player. And I think you see now that Pascal Siakam's a hell of a player. He was a hell of a player in Toronto. He's a hell of a player in Indiana. And good for him. And every dollar he's earned. And the guy's just got a endless energy. He can impact winning on so many different fronts. Now, do I think he's a 1A player? Respectfully, no. Do I think he's a outstanding 1B guy? Yes, definitely. And the fact that he's won a title, in 2019 with Toronto, and here we are 6 years later, was in Game 7, and the best or second best player on his team 6 years later. I think his value is held up, and his value, quite frankly, is increased out of the shadows of a Kawhi and a Kyle Lowry and a Marc Gasol and Fred VanVleet and all the other really good players that were on that team. He's legit. He's big time.
Jack, quickly, the NBA draft, there's no rest for the weary. The draft's up on Wednesday. You look at the Raptors and kind of their off season and, any needs you think, like what would be number one need for them to address this off season?
Well, now we see what happened with Tyrese Halliburton last night.
Yeah.
You've already got Damian Lillard in Milwaukee. You got Jason Tatum in Boston out. Probably we're going to have Cleveland and New York as the top two teams in the East going in. If in fact Halliburton is going to be out for next year, things change fast. You look at the deal Orlando did, getting Desmond Bane. And to me, I think their biggest need is, can you get another good player and suddenly be in the mix to contend next year? Because not only make the playoffs, but be a team that can play deep into the spring. You added Brandon Ingram, who basically redshirted and sat out. Quickly was hurt a lot. They have a good group of young players. So if they're in a position to deal, move up, move down, move out, I think all the cards are on the table. I think after. On Wednesday night, after the first two picks are in, which everyone knows they're going to be, Flag and Harper. After that, I think everything's wide open around the league, and it should be an intriguing, interesting night on Wednesday night when you get from pick 3 on.
Jack, great stuff, man. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the off season, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yep. A few more days, get the draft Wednesday, Thursday, and then free agency, and then hopefully a little golf, which I can't play a lick of.
Yeah, but it's fun, right, Jack? It's not remotely stressful. It's just fun.
Well, the libations are good. I'm club champion at the 19th hole. So.
Hey, that's the most important hole to win. So great job.
I do my best.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Jack Armstrong. Oh, he's a beauty. And he brought up a really good point. And those are three major players who could be out potentially for the year. Right? Like that changes the whole landscape of some of these teams. And, you look at And then there's other teams getting older. Like I look at Houston and I look at OKC in the West. Now, I really like the Denver Nuggets, but I'm like, damn, like their depth isn't even on the same page. It's not even close. So, and Houston's got all these picks. OKC's got all these picks. So and OKC's not going to have to worry about fitting guys in just yet because they don't have any big cap hits coming up. So I'm kind of fascinated to see, would one of these other teams be, because we know in the NBA, like some of them, they're willing to just trade multiple picks. That's how OKC, like they're still benefiting from the Paul George trade from 2019, for goodness sake. So if those guys are like Tyrese Halliburton, now, was it confirmed it was his Achilles? It was, So, man, he went from his calf, and obviously that's an illustration. Now, who knows? Maybe it was his Achilles before, but usually if one strained, you try to compensate for it. It leads to another injury. Brutal. So he's out, because if he's got an Achilles, he's out for the year. Damian Lillard's going to be out. Man, that's some big names. Big name. Kevin Durant. And here's the other thing that no one's talking about the Kevin Durant trade. Like the guy's a Band-Aid lately. Like, I'm sorry. He misses too many games. He'll help Houston when he plays. Now, how many games can he play? Great question.
Well, how much does he have left in the tank? These guys aren't they're not getting any younger.
Yeah,
right?
He can still shoot, man. That's the thing. Like he can still shoot. So that's kind of his bread and butter, shall we say. So if you can shoot, you can play in today's game. No question. Quick break. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. Let's get to the con man and a sports 1440 update brought to you by your Alberta GMC dealers. Employee pricing is on now. You can save up to $12,000 on a 2025 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab Ultimate Denali. See the great ride at gmccanada.ca.
This is a sports 1440 update.
The Anaheim Ducks have traded forward Trevor Zegras of the Philadelphia Flyers for forward Ryan Poling, the 45th pick in this week's draft, and a 2026 fourth rounder. The 6-foot center at 12 goals and 32 points in 57 games this past season. With the Ducks, he also missed 22 games with a torn meniscus and is in the final year of a contract to be an RFA following next season. Brutal news for the Indiana Pacers and star Tyrese Halliburton as he suffered a torn right Achilles in Game 7 of the NBA Finals against OKC. Per multiple reports, he'll likely miss all of next season. Major League Baseball today, you got the Orioles hosting the Rangers, Braves in New York taking on the Mets, Reds host the Yankees, White Sox and the Diamondbacks, Pirates in Milwaukee, Twins will host the Mariners, Cubbies in St. Louis, Angels take on the Red Sox, and the Nationals in San Diego. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Farhan Lalji of TSN, talk some CFL, and we'll ask 5 questions. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
It's Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
The sun is shining, the weather's warm, and some of Edmonton's favorite sports are back in season. If you're looking for the cherry on top of a perfect summer day, check out Play Alberta to experience casino, sports, and lottery all in one app. Download the Play Alberta app today and deposit $20 or more with promo code OIL to claim a $100 casino bonus. That's promo code OIL for a $100 casino bonus on us. Redeemable once per Play Alberta account. Remember, if you gamble, please use your game sense.
Adventure just doesn't stumble into your life. It roars to life with Riverside Motorsports. Tearing up trails or cruising the open road. Yamaha ATVs, side-by-sides, motorcycles, and dirt bikes deliver the performance you crave. Built for thrills, ready for your next adventure. Yamaha's legendary performance and reliability take you there. Make Mother Nature your playground on a Yamaha from Riverside Motorsports. Located on St. Albert Trail.
Day after.
Riverside Motorsports. What you do for fun is our business.
Sean Brown.
Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Center. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience, but it doesn't
For
end
the
there.
kids?
Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Center's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-471-7380 or visit EdmontonExpoCenter.com today.
It was a heck of a ride. Thanks to the Edmonton Oilers for a fun playoff run. Now it's time to turn to football, soccer, baseball, and other summer sports from the team at Sports 1440, Edmonton's sports leader.
At Fountain Tire, success is a team effort. They're committed to their team members and their customers. And that means treating your vehicle like it's their own and finding solutions that suit your needs. Because whatever the road brings ahead, they're on it with you. Visit fountaintire.com today.
McDonald's summer drink days are back, which means it's officially summer. Enjoy your refreshing small Coca-Cola or small iced coffee for just $1 all summer. Woo! Summer's booming with summer
Do my
drink
best.
days.
Thanks, guys.
Participating McDonald's in Canada. Taxes extra. Prices
Great job.
Do my
Some
best.
jobs are easy, and some jobs are not. When the going gets tough and the job is tough, GS Construction hires good people to get the job done right. So, if you know it takes teamwork, grit, and the utmost care to work underground, you just might be who we're looking for. Right now, GS Construction is hiring experienced foremen to join our crew. Apply today at gsconstruction.ca. And remember, from the first manhole to the final tie-in, we've got your back. GS Construction. Tough jobs, good people.
At Fitted Golf, we know that you continue to believe.
It's not my clubs. Really, it's my swing.
Except it's already June and you're still not playing the game you want because you continue to insist it's not your clubs. Except it really is your clubs. And we prove it every day. Fitted Golf customers continue to be amazed at how good they actually are when they use the right clubs for their swing. Why would you play the game you love but not love the way you play it? From beginners to pros, Fitted Golf makes all the difference. Visit fittedgolf.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. What's the best way to beat the tariffs? Buy Canadian. Cantork's products are not only made in Canada, but right here in Edmonton. Save money, support Canada at cantork.com.
Hat tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Just after 3 o'clock, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley. We've had a little change. Kevin Woolley's going to join us at 4 o'clock now instead of 3:20. So just adjust accordingly. If you want to find out which free agent goaltender is the best fit for the now, when I say fit, it's because it's not just about their numbers. A lot of it will come down to which goalie style. So Jake Allen, Ilya Samsonov, Alex Lyon, Anton Forsberg, Vitek Vanacek, Dan Vladar, right? Georgiev is another one if you want. So, there's a few out there. Now, obviously there's trades. People are talking about Demko. We'll ask Woodley about that. We'll also talk about John Gibson and, pros and cons, availability, dependability, all that stuff. So that's coming up. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Just after 3 o'clock, we got, it is the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game, use the promo code Gregor50. That's Gregor50, and you'll get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca. We got lots and lots of text flying in, 833-401-1440. Larry asks, hey, guys, if they're going to make a change to the goalie coach, what about a Russian goalie coach? Look at what they've done with all their goalies. Fair point, Larry. Fair point. Now, I'd have to find out, is there a Russian coach that we don't know about? Who knows? I do have a list of some potential goalie coaches, guys who have been, working if the Oilers look at making a move. And the only reason I say that is because I unearthed that most of the Oilers' assistant coaches, like Glenn Galton, now he's interviewing for the Dallas job, I'm told. And if he gets it, well, that's a big loss. If he doesn't get it, I think the Oilers are more than happy. They want to keep him. I think he has a good relationship with he's overseen the second greatest power play over a 7-year stretch ever in NHL history. It's been pretty good. You got Paul Coffey. You have Mark Stewart. You have Dustin Schwartz. I think they'll look at everything to see, which guys want to come back, right? Sometimes people are looking for a change, maybe. Right. And then is there a fit? Now, when you look at goalie coaches, some of the names to find out who are they? There's guys like, Mackenzie, what's his last name? Skapsky, Dan Stewart, Richard Bachman, former NHL goalie. He's a guy who's kind of up and comer as a goalie coach. Brian Eklund. Now I mentioned Ian Clark and Sean Burke, and I'll ask Woodley about that. Like that be more like thinking bigger picture, Brownie, that we talked about the whole goalie development department and see if that's something that they really want to expand into. Now it comes down to cost. It's funny. There's lots of teams that will simply balk at it. And when you consider like these are billion dollar companies who are like, you know what? We don't want to pay this guy 300 American. And I'm just kind of like, what? Like if you know the importance of the position and also kind of the uncertainty of it, you're going to want to develop as many good goalies as you can and see which one hits.
I don't know where the Oilers development program's at, but talking with different guys that I know that are in the industry and with different teams, it's not the same for every organization.
No.
No. I think it is a copycat league, and there's more attention and detail to development guys, whether it's working with the players and having a forward development guy, a defense, and developing a goalie program. I don't know where the Oilers are at with that, but that is real and that is something they're doing. I mean, the importance of developing and drafting these guys and kind of developing them within house is obviously important.
Oh, it's massive.
I don't think I don't know all the goalie coaches out there, but I think that would be the easiest thing to get. But for me, I guess I would maybe start off with, did Stuart Skinner not go to Kelowna? I think he went to Kelowna and worked with a goalie coach there.
Wasn't a goalie coach.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the guy's name who escapes me, he doesn't work on the technical side at all. It's more about body movement and like strengthening your core, different things like that. Right. Yeah. And so Andy, what's his last? Woodley, I can't. Some Vasily, something like that, but that's not his real name. Yeah. Anyway, but he is not like a technical goalie coach. It's going to talk about, reverse VA, all that stuff. That's not what he does.
Yeah. What about Rolston? Like, did he not work he's worked in,
he's working
Victoria.
Now. He's working in college now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? I just think there's no shortage of former players and different people that, are involved with goalie development that would be, suitable for working with Stuart Skinner or anyone. So, and I'm not even saying that's the answer, but I just feel like Stuart Skinner is a young, up and coming goalie with a lot of upside. The easiest thing, if you haven't exhausted, is maybe to try and find somebody with it, outside of the organization and a different voice. And, if the Oilers don't have a development program for their goalies, I mean, it's something, like I said, I agree with you. I think the whole development scouting staff, these guys, knowing, I don't know the exact number of games that these guys go out and watch, but, from the outside looking in, I think scouts, I know the money they make, and I think it varies obviously from team to team, but it is something that, I guess if I was running a team, I'd probably have a few more guys and probably spend a little bit more money in scouting, in development, knowing
there's no cap on it, right? Like that's the area that if your team is making as much money as that Forbes says the Oilers are making, then what are they doing with it?
And there's a big difference between, organizations and their philosophy around it, right?
Yes.
There's some teams that obviously pay more than others. I don't know where the Oilers are on that side of things, but I agree with you. I mean, getting more scouts, whether it's pro, amateur, goalies, and finding these guys, especially when you get into the situation where the Oilers are in, or anyone that's, a cup contender, when you have to trade picks and, you have to rely on picking up guys, throughout the league, or finding guys that, maybe are a little bit of a diamond in the rough that are over in Europe. You gotta have the boots on the ground. You gotta have those guys.
Yeah, well, I think they've done that with their European scouts this year. We've seen all the guys that they put in Stan Bowman in the outline and like, hey, we're not going to have a lot of draft picks, so we really need to put a bigger emphasis on our scouting overseas, and they've done that, and we saw a lot of the different guys they brought in. Now we'll see if they can play, obviously, but Josh Szymanski, you go through the list. They just got the lead. Like you look at I'm forgetting his name. The new guy, Arto, the defenseman, Lappinen, is that his name? Lappinen, Arto Lappinen. Like he just set the record for most points ever by a defenseman in the Finnish Elite League, and then they got the leading scorer in the Swedish Elite League. Like you're at least bringing over players that have got a decent track record against. Man, like you played in Europe, Brownie. These leagues aren't just chump change, right? Like you got to be a pretty good player over there. And so that's kind of where they're looking a little bit more experience. Because I look at the Stanley Cup final. There's no rookie on either team. You look at the conference finals. Dallas had, 2 rookies. They had no goals in the playoffs. And then Carolina was the only team that had any rookies who made an impact in Stan Coven and Jackson Blake. That's it, right? That's the only rookies really in the playoffs who made a significant impact of teams who won around.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's just how it is. Like it's a hard league in the playoffs to have young rookies come in. Now, maybe Matt Savoy can buck the trend, right? Maybe he's a Jake Gensel. We've seen it, but you're almost better off when you don't have a lot of draft picks that you've got to go scour. There's lots of good hockey players because outside of the top 15%, Brownie, I think that like the gap and the line is pretty thin from a guy who's an NHLer to a guys in the American League. For lots of those third pairing defensemen and third and fourth line guys in the NHL, like the gap is not that big.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's why if you have the passion and desire, you don't want to give up on your dream because there's this, you don't know when you're going to get that break from that organization or that team or that guy that believes in you. But, the other thing too is like the Oilers have had, a number of different players. Like you look at Lavoie, was it Lavoie or Lavoie?
Yeah, Raphael Lavoie.
I think there has to be a time too where maybe some of these guys got to get a bigger sample size of, getting into the lineup and playing a little bit so you kind of know what you have. Hopefully Savoy, I think is probably the number one prospect that they have. Hopefully next year he gets in there and gets an opportunity to play.
I think he's going to get every opportunity to show, but keep in mind, as I always say, their goal is to win the cup. Rookies rarely help you win the cup. That's just a fact. People aren't going to want to hear it. It's just a fact. And it's different when your team sucks for a decade. All the young guys get opportunities. That's great. You'll get an opportunity. Fine, you can play in the league. But the harsh truth is you're probably going to have to be a little bit overripe. Now, this year, salary cap wise, I could see young guys getting a chance up until the trade deadline. And then if you have it in 60 games shown it, you're like, okay, well, this maybe isn't your year. We'll try again next year, but now we're going to bring in recruits because we want to win the cup. Player individual development is not their main focus when you got McDavid and Draisaitl and now Bouchard on big tickets. It's to win. That's just the truth.
Yeah. But I guess as an organization too, I think during that window, you still got to be able to, draft these guys and give them a shot and see what you actually have.
Yeah, but you don't really know. Like, let's see if they're not playing great in the American League. I'm not just going to give them a chance because they're a first rounder. Like you got to show you can play, don't you?
I think, yeah. I mean, you obviously, yeah. I think there's two sides of it. If you're talking about a first rounder, I think everybody's kind of got to earn their opportunity, but you still, I would say that a first rounder and a high pick, is probably still maybe going to get a little bit more of a look and opportunity. Not whether he's, you still got to earn it, but I still think you're still going to push those guys a little bit more to see what you got because they've given you reason to.
Yeah. Well, the Oilers aren't going to be having any first rounders. Like Sam O'Reilly might be their last first rounder for a while.
Yeah.
Right. Because they don't have one this year. They've already traded next year's first rounder.
Yeah.
So, we'll see, unless they're somehow going to, Matt Savoy was a first rounder, not from their organization.
So that's where their pro scouting has to come in here. Right? And the importance of of finding, because I mean, there's got to be throughout the league a number of guys that are in a situation that maybe are undervalued, that have a ton of upside and
well, that's Regula, and just who they claimed on waivers, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy that you look at and say, hey, yeah, got him for a fourth rounder, right? Like those are the type of deals that, if you can make them, that's going to help your team a lot. And that's just the situation the Oilers are in right now.
Yeah. And then, what's interesting is when you listen to Connor McDavid, we know, I mean, he's wired differently than a lot of guys and how competitive and how much he wants to win. It's amazing to me to listen, to the pressure that he puts on himself, the pressure that he puts on his teammates, but also the pressure that he's putting on the organization, right? To make sure that everyone is, he's not going to doesn't let anyone get comfortable, in any type of position. He's so motivated to win, and he's going to keep everyone on their toes, right? And so it's up to the organization now to go out there and find the guys that are going to fill these holes.
And it's it'll be very interesting to see kind of. I think we've seen a little bit of what they're going to do moving forward. I love this one. Hey Gregor, get rid of Savoy. Who did the Panthers have who was under 6 feet? Well, I think Brad Marchand's 5'9". I think he was a pretty impactful player. Evan Rodriguez under 6 feet. You're right. Not many, but there's two guys who both played in their top 6 who are under 6 feet tall. So I don't think you can ever make a claim, Rage Texter B, that just because he's 6 foot doesn't mean he can't play.
Yeah. I mean, the Brad Marchand's a pretty unique type of player.
Yeah, but is Evan Rodriguez that like, oh my God?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious. Like, if you there's talk that they're going to get rid of Kane. If you get rid of Kane, do you not have to bring in another Kane?
Well, you bring in, Trent Frederick is the guy who's going to sign, right? And then,
I think more than one.
Yeah, I think at the deadline, sure. But I don't think at the Oilers, people have to understand, you cannot build your team at the start of the season and have all your holes filled. Florida didn't. They acquired Marchand and Jones. People have to understand when you're a winning team, it's, we got to get all these pieces and they all got to be filled. They're not all going to be filled. There's no cap space to do it. You can make cap space. Maybe there's an injury. Maybe someone goes on LTIR, or you accrue cap space. Yeah. And then at the deadline, you can get them for 1/6 of their contract.
So is Kane not a fit because of maybe his salary, or is he not a fit because maybe the dynamics in the room, his salary?
Well, it's both,
really?
Right? Part salary, part the other one. Because you look, the Oilers, they just don't have space. Like, you're going to have to, Bouchard and Draisaitl go from having combined $12 million cap hit to $24 million. So you got to shave some money off somewhere. It's just how it goes.
Yeah. It concerns me if you get rid of we all Frederick and Kane and those, look at Sam Bennett, like those players are just so hard to find and they're so valuable. And to get guys that are comfortable and have that identity, where are we finding those guys?
That's difficult for sure. Quick break. We'll return and we will talk Demko trade rumors. We'll go to that market. Can he play? Can he stay healthy? That and more on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
You don't want to miss the party of the summer at On the Rocks.
Sunday, June 29th.
Catch Edmonton's #1 party band, the Barkels, live at OTR.
Drink specials all night.
$5.25 highballs.
$5 PBR.
Oh, and we can't forget the $5 Jaeger and Jameson.
Yeah, it's going to be that kind of party.
Live, loud, and legendary.
Sunday, June 29th.
At On the Rocks.
Jasper Ave 118th.
Scott McGilvery here, HGTV host and renovation expert. The one upgrade I know homeowners will love: better, fresher Culligan water straight from the tap. Culligan's Aquasential reverse osmosis filtration system takes your water to the next level. With up to 7 stages of filtration and 14 filter options, they're certified to reduce over 90 contaminants. Your tap water is about to get a major upgrade. Safer water that tastes great. Get started with a free in-home water test at Culligan.com. Culligan, water you love.
The Discovery Day sales event is on now at Volvo Cars Edmonton. It's your final month to lease a 2025 XC90 plug-in hybrid from 1.49% and save $5,000. Lease or finance a 2025 XC60 plug-in hybrid from 0.49% and save $4,000. Lease or finance a 2025 XC40 from 0.49% and save up to $2,000. Come and discover the deals now at Volvo Cars Edmonton. Great vehicles, better services. Only at VolvoCarsEdmonton.com.
Silent Rides is one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies. With state-of-the-art motor coaches, we provide our customers with the safest and most reliable ground transportation. Our seatbelt-equipped buses have become the preferred carrier for many local sports teams, tours, corporate outings, and other various travel across Western Canada. For more information and to request a quote, call 1-877-748-0991 or visit silentrides.ca.
New crust alert at Papa John's. Your favorite cheese meets your favorite pizza in the new cheddar crust pizza for only $17.99. Papa John's pizza makers created the perfect addition to their crust by melting garlic and herb seasoned cheddar cheese right on top of their fresh original dough that's made with 6 simple ingredients. Try a one-topping cheddar crust pizza today for only $17.99. You better hurry though, because it's only for a limited time. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, proudly locally owned and operated.
Action Electrical's projects team takes the field, folks, ready to execute the entire play for new commercial builds.
Absolutely. They're masters of design build, sketching strategy from initial blueprints to core electrical infrastructure. The team never misses on complex projects.
Known for handling big league constructions and major renovations, ensuring flawless execution, hire the Action Electrical team to bring home a win for your project. Visit actionelectrical.net.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is your #1 air conditioning company. So when you can't take living in oppressive heat any longer,
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
if your hot, sticky sheets keep you up all night,
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
if you've decided that you deserve to be cool and comfortable,
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
and with no payments, no interest for 1 year, it could only be Legacy Heating and Cooling.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at cantork.com.
I'm gonna make it bend and break. Say a prayer.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Harley Davidson of Edmonton on the Yellowhead Trail, locally owned and operated by the Kent family and celebrating 45 years. See all our rides at hdedmonton.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
3:26. It is draft week. We're just a little bit away from free agency. You got NBA draft. That's why it's draft week. 2 drafts. Awesome. You have it. We've had now a few weeks of the CFL to kind of see where some teams are at, although 2 weeks probably still isn't enough. But you don't want to have another repeat if you're the Edmonton Elks. The problem is now they're going into Winnipeg, where it's not going to get any easier for the green and gold. They just, you know what, try to find a way to get a win at some point. Otherwise, you dig a hole. Like Saskatchewan's already 3-0. If Winnipeg beats you, they're 3-0. You're already 3 games back at 2 teams. And you've already played 3 games. So that's not ideal. So we'll see where the Elks go. I guess the only good news is that Toronto's 0-3. That was a good game, although I still how do you not have enough people on the field in a tie game for the kickoff? Like, WTF on that play? You're joking? And I actually thought there was an illegal block on the back. But nonetheless, there'd already been enough penalties in that game. Their refs are probably like, my arm's tired. I can't throw another flag. It's too much. It's too much. Let's go in the room, brought to you by Action Electrical. Take action on your savings. Look at the sun outside. You're like, man, it's like sunny. You go to bed, sunny, you wake up. It's just how it is right now. Lots of sun. You get solar, you're saving money. ActionElectrical.net. They can set you up for your home or for your business. Farhan Lalji from TSN joins us in Vancouver. And Farhan, we'll get to the CFL in a second. I just want to ask, what's your thoughts on Demko? And, how do they know what his injury is? Like, is this guy going to come back and play? Are they confident he can play? Are they confident he can stay healthy? Does anybody know?
Not really. And I think they're confident he's going to be able to start the season, right? He would have been ready for the playoffs if the Canucks were in them. But I think when you got to the last couple of weeks, it just didn't make sense. So they just decided to shut him down. But look, in terms of his ability to stay healthy, I think that's a real concern. And this guy's going into the final year of his contract. He's extension eligible come July 1st. And the club's got to make a decision. And the players got to make a decision, because I think the Canucks would like to bring Thatcher Demko back. But I think both sides are going to have to share some risk here. And Jim Rutherford has said as much. And we'll see if Thatcher Demko is willing to do that. I mean, if you're him, you're just like, look, maybe I can just sit this one out. Not sit this one out, but like I can just go into the final year of my contract, play whatever games they decide to give me, stay healthy, and decide to do it that way. But there's risk in that. So, could you see a scenario where they sign a 2-year extension at $5 million per, which is the difference of his current deal, and then both sides wear some risk? It's probably where it should be. We'll see if it winds up getting to that range. But I think they want him back. I think they want a 2-goaltender tandem with him and Kevin Lankinen. And I think they overpaid Lankinen given the sample size, right? And so, he's not ready to be a 60-game starter, in my opinion. So I think you want both of them back. And if you can get Demko back and just commit half the games to him, I think both goalies will be in a good place.
Okay. Because that's an interesting one to kind of see. So, because they got Lankinen, they got him, then they got Shelovs, who's I know in the minors right now, and they're in the Calder Cup final. So I'm sure there's lots of talk about Abbotsford and some of the guys down there. You're probably watching those games more than you have in the past, I would think. Farhan, is there anyone else on that American League team that you're like, hey, this guy might be able to help the Canucks next season?
Well, Jonathan Lekramaki, who was out of the lineup in Abbotsford for a bit, but then scored a couple of goals in their Game 4 win. I think he's a guy that they're going to be counting on to be like a middle six forward next year. And then there's some other guys, whether it's, Atu Ratu, who's an RFA, but everyone expects him to be back. Max Sasson, Linus Karlsson, some of those guys up front. Kirill Kudryavtsev, one of their blue liners, could eventually be a depth guy that helps them down the road. But this is a team that's going to go out there this summer and attempt to make trades to find forward help, top six forward help, top six center help. And, those are going to be complicated transactions, but if they can't pull it off, you're going to need some internal improvement. And some of those guys, like Karlsson, who's not a kid, right? He'll be 26 next year. Some of those guys are going to need to step into some roles next year. It's just the way it is, given the needs this organization has right now.
Farhan, if we talk a little bit about the Elks are 0-2. What have you liked about their game? What have you liked about Trey Ford, or what do you see that maybe there needs to be something a little bit more in Trey Ford's game, or is it something tactically, team-wise, that maybe needs to be adjusted for Trey Ford to have a little bit more success?
Yeah, look, that's a tough one. And I'm a proponent of Trey Ford, and I'm glad that they gave him the keys to the car and have invested. And I'm, from talking to the people over there, there's not going to be an itchy trigger finger here. They're going to continue to invest and not make a hasty decision. But it's also a competitive group. They want to win. I'm not going to read too much into the fourth quarter of that game against Montreal. Matt Dunnigan likes to call that YAB, yards after beatdown. And I think there was some of that there where, Montreal had held a lot back at that point, and the game was never in doubt. Wasn't really thrilled with Ford's comments post game, where there was kind of a suggestion that if they'd have called some of those plays earlier, it might have worked out better, right? Like I don't think that's kind of where you want to go with it. He needs to show that he can play from the pocket. And look, I know this guy's a dynamic talent, and we saw it in the game in Vancouver week 1 where there were 2 plays that were just insane, right? But you can't live in that world for an entire game. So he's going to have to show. And the thing, in fairness to Trey, and Naylor and I had a debate on our air last week about it. And I just said, I go, because there's going to be a comparison to Davis Alexander. They're both in their 4th year. Both franchises have given them the keys to the car. Trey's played a lot more football in his first 3 years than Davis has. But in my opinion, you got to factor in that Davis has been in that offense for 3 years.
Yes.
That matters. Whereas here, Trey hasn't been, and he's being asked to see the field very differently under Jordan McSimic, and I think that's going to take some time.
I agree, and I actually thought their play calling on both sides of the ball, Farhan, was ridiculously passive. I couldn't believe how far their corners played off on defense. That I was stunned by. And then offensively, they didn't throw the ball down the middle of the field. Like, they just 4-yard out passes. Like, I think if you're going to lose, I think you got to lose taking shots and being aggressive rather than trying to nickel and dime all the time. I just thought they were too passive in the first half. And by the time they got aggressive, the game was over.
Yeah, and that's fair. And if you look at Jordan McSimic and his play calling with both Nathan Rourke and Vernon Adams, all he did was push the ball down the field. He didn't like playing small ball. He didn't run the ball consistently. And in Edmonton, I think that offense has been built run first. And if the line isn't going to do enough to get the running game going, then I think sometimes you're going to see them try extended runs with the short passing game. And I think they're also really trying to figure out what Trey Ford can handle. As much as Trey Ford is trying to learn a progression reading system offensively, and go through that, which is a little different than what he was asked to do before, they're also trying to see what he can handle within that, right? So when you're trying to learn that, you get conservative and you try to take the easy completions. But I don't disagree with you, right? I think Jordan's comfort level is to push it down the field. I think they should see if Trey can hit some of those intermediate routes. You don't need to take deep shots all the time, but can you work near the hash marks at 10 to 15 yards, right? Like, can you get into those spaces? But I think defensively, they really believe in their front 7. Like, they put a pretty good group together. Those linebackers, in my opinion, that's the best tandem in the league. And then you've got defensive linemen who've been productive throughout their careers previously. So they want to kind of take a page out of Winnipeg's book, where Winnipeg doesn't bring a lot of extra pressure. They keep their guys back. They keep everything in front of them, and they drive downhill and tackle it because the quarterback's got to get the ball out of his hands quickly, even if it's four-man pressure. And right now, Edmonton's defense hasn't been able to generate that. So maybe they have to find ways to manufacture pressure differently with more blitzes, with corners, or not corners, but halfbacks coming up and doing some things like you suggest, because right now, the way they envisioned it, right, great defense, great running game, don't put too much pressure on the quarterback. Right now, that part's not working. There's so much focus on Trey, but the other parts aren't getting it done either.
Yeah, well said. I get the theory of, hey, we can get pressure with 4, but you're not getting pressure with 4, and then you're playing your corners off so far. You're allowing easy completions.
You are, and within all of that, Jason, I think it's important to look at their schedule in context, right? I got asked last week by somebody in your market, and they're like, what do you make of Calgary start? And I'm like, well, they haven't played anybody. Now, they still haven't played anybody, and they lost this past game, which, shouldn't have happened. But Edmonton's had a real tough schedule, and it's not getting any easier this week. So the benefit they've got is Winnipeg's coming off a short week. But, they're still at home, which gives you an extra day of prep because you don't need the day of travel. So, I don't like their chances. I'm picking Winnipeg this week. But then after that, there becomes fewer and fewer excuses, right? Because those teams right now that they've been playing, like Montreal's the best team in the league. And Winnipeg is, they're showing that they haven't got old yet. They might get old after Labor Day, but it ain't today. So it's going to be tough for them, and that schedule matters. And I think that's exposed them a little bit. They could have used a softer schedule with this much newness throughout the organization to get their feet wet a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, what do you make of the Stamps? They lose Begelton. That's huge loss for them. Big blow. You mentioned that's a game they shouldn't have lost, and might be one that comes back to haunt them.
Yeah, I mean, you can't lose 5-0 in the turnover battle and expect to win a football game, right? And Vernon turned it over 2, maybe 3 times. If you factor in the fumble as well, and he can't play like that. And losing Begelton is big because he becomes a security blanket, right? And he's still got guys like Philpott and Rhymes, and Barnes is emerging a little bit this year, but and their run game hasn't been bad either. So, but you also lose Bryce Bell in the middle, which is a little bit unnerving if you're a quarterback. But despite the weather and all those conditions, I think Vernon would tell you right now he expects more from himself. That was not a game with a backup quarterback in Ottawa that they should have lost.
What did you make of the Toronto-Saskatchewan game? First of all, get your thoughts on the game.
Well, I'm guessing that you're going to take me to Luke Wilson's comments. Which is fair, because I love Luke and I love his passion. But it wasn't a great football game, and this happens in the CFL sometimes, where a fantastic finish can mask an ugly football game. Yeah. And it was not a well-played football game. And Toronto right now, and it's not just Nick Arbuckle, but they've had a lot of change throughout their roster, and it hasn't been as seamless as it was a year ago. So, they're not real good right now. Saskatchewan kind of played down to their level a little bit, and I thought they stubbed their toe in a few areas. And then all of a sudden, you get this, final drive for Toronto, and then Saskatchewan runs the kickback, and it's lipstick on a pig. So I don't think that's reflective of the entire league and the games we've seen this season. No. And I don't think Luke was trying to either. But I get his point and agree with it that sometimes a great finish can mask a poor football game.
Farhan, if we bring it back to the NHL and Vancouver Canucks, what did you think of the hiring of Adam Foote? And does it concern you that he doesn't have a ton of experience, or did you expect them to hire? Was he the guy that you expected him to hire?
I thought they'd hire Manny Malhotra, and I thought they would, just because even though Manny doesn't have any NHL head coaching experience, he's just got more coaching experience overall, right? When you look at Adam Foote's body of work, it's really the time he spent, for a season and a half with Rick Tocchet, right? There was a few other developmental roles with the Avalanche and, some less than successful junior stints with Kelowna. But so I was surprised. Now, look, I like Adam, and I hope he does well. And I know he's a bright guy and learned a lot from Rick. And I know there were other factors there in terms of trying to, I don't want to say appease Quinn Hughes, because I'm not suggesting he went to the team and said, hire him or else. But I know that's a part of it, that they want to make Quinn as happy as they can with the possibility of getting him signed to an extension. So, we'll see how much he's learned from Rick and just his ability to relate to players and where that takes him. But I was a little bit surprised. And, when you look at the candidate pool they had going into it, there was very little in the way of meaningful NHL experience, right? As far as a head coach. I mean, you had Jay Woodcroft, who had a bit of time in Edmonton, and there was, a couple of others, but nobody with a long track record got considered. So there were going to be similar questions regardless of who they hired. But if it was me, I would have hired Manny.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fair. What do you think the Canucks are going to do? Like Brock Besser's gone, JT Miller's gone, although I know he was gone last season, but Priest Suter might be gone. He had a hell of a year and he might cash in a market where suddenly there's lots of extra cap space. And I think guys like that are going to get overpaid. What do you see the Canucks doing in free agency to try to improve their team?
I don't know how much they can do in free agency because this isn't a destination any longer, right? Like, I mean, there were times, 12 years ago or 13 years ago where it was a destination and people would take less to come here, right? Like I remember Malhotra himself got offered more to go to Edmonton than he did to come to Vancouver, and he came to Vancouver, right? Like, but now Edmonton's the destination, great arena, the two best players on the planet, all of that. So it's going to be hard for Vancouver to get guys without grossly overpaying. So, and I think Jim Rutherford's fully aware of this, and they know that they've got to go and try to be aggressive on the trade market, which they have been. So I would expect them to make a trade, at the draft, by the end of the week here and try to move that first overall pick, or sorry, not first overall, their first round pick, 15th overall, and try to get more up front. They need top six forward help. They need scoring help. They need a top six center. They need at least one additional top six winger who can score. And they're not going to find that in free agency. They're going to have to go and make a trade and give up some assets because they do have some good ones on the back end. And I think that first round pick, but they're not alone, right? I mean, there's a lot of people in the league, and Jason, this, that just aren't enamored with this year's draft. So I think there's a lot of mid-first round picks that are going to be available.
Yeah, no, I think I totally would agree with you on that one. Lastly, what about the ownership? It's funny. The BC Lions might have the best ownership. Well, probably do have the best ownership in the CFL. They had 52,000 for their season opener, which was unreal. Like I talked to the Elks players. They said like their offense was completely out of sorts just because it was so loud in the stadium that night. Their ownership seems to be everybody's liking it. It's great. The Aquilinis, they're trying to separate. How much do you think that's playing into some of the dysfunction that's going on in that organization?
Yeah, look, I think it's fair. The one thing I'll say about Francesco is he's willing to spend, right? I mean, there was one time coming out of COVID that he probably, closed the taps a little bit. But other than that, I mean, this guy's paid 3 head coaches at the same time at various times, always spending to the cap. Certainly they've dropped the ball big time on a practice facility, only team in the league that doesn't have one or at least plans for one. So, there are some pitfalls, and I think the biggest thing where ownership has hurt this team is a refusal to allow a rebuild, because that's what this team needs, and they're not going to get one. It's always going to be short-term. Let's try to find a way to get in the playoffs and get some home dates and get some money from those games. And, they'll spend for that, but I think it's short-sighted thinking. I think they need to tear down functional rebuild. It looked like they were able to get around it. And then all of a sudden last year happened, and, the whole JT Miller thing happened and the entire thing blew up, and they just couldn't go there anymore. So, I think that's part of it. I don't know that this is Eugene Melnick territory, but I certainly think the ownership could be doing some different things here.
Yeah. What about the practice rink? Why are they so opposed to it?
I think they've been trying to get somebody to hand something over to them, like in terms of an arena or like a sheet that they can then build around. Whether it's been in the city of Vancouver or in other spots, and it just it hasn't worked the way they want, right? I mean, and this is an affluent ownership group that specializes in development, right? Like this is what they do.
Right.
They buy land, they convert it. You'd have to think there's a way for them to have access to make this project go. And I do think there's a level of embarrassment that's occurred now, but they're still trying to work with municipalities and existing facilities. I think at some point they're gonna have to suck it up, buy some land, and make a building and move this thing along.
Firehand, great stuff, man. Enjoy draft week, and and quickly give me your thoughts, because I know you're a huge basketball guy. What do you think of the Thunder and just the Canadian talent, like 4 Canadians who all played pivotal roles for their teams in that final?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome to see, the Canadians having their fingerprints all over it on both sides, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander having a season for the ages. You've seen the numbers in terms of guys that have, won the scoring title and then league MVP and finals MVP and all that. Like, it doesn't happen often.
No.
And, we're so preoccupied when we think of elite Canadian athletes of thinking hockey players. Well, like Connor McDavid shouldn't win the formerly Lou Marsh, now Northern Star Award, it should be Shea. And what he was able to do throughout this series was remarkable. And it also shows, the NBA has parity. The NHL doesn't. But it shows that a team in a small market can build and have success. Even if TV ratings are down, there's still a way to build in that league. And hopefully, whether you're an NBA team or an NHL team, you can see that path forward.
Awesome, Farhan. Thanks for this, buddy. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
There you go. That's Farhan Lalji from TSN. I know some people are like, well, hey, what about Summer McIntosh? Well, Summer McIntosh was great. No discounting it. But Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, did something that just hasn't really been done before. Well, definitely never done by a Canadian before, ever. So I think Summer McIntosh, what she'll do in the future is definitely Canadians. When you get to those awards, it's, it's not just going to be hockey, which is great, but I also don't think you can discount sometimes if a hockey guy has a great year that, wow, he's a hockey player. No. It's not about equality. It's about just who's the best now, whether this is best swimmer, best basketball player, best hockey player, best soccer player. I don't care. And, but it is at best golfer. Got some pretty good golfers out there too. So that's what makes it exciting. But Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's season, it's going to be pretty hard to top that for sure. 3:46. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We got 5 questions and more. It's the Jason Gregor Show. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X is always presented by our title sponsor, PlayAlberta.ca.
The sun is shining, the weather's warm, and some of Edmonton's favorite sports are back in season. If you're looking for the cherry on top of a perfect summer day, check out Play Alberta to experience casino, sports, and lottery all in one app. Download the Play Alberta app today and deposit $20 or more with promo code OIL to claim a $100 casino bonus. That's promo code OIL for a $100 casino bonus on us. Gameable once per Play Alberta account. Remember, if you gamble, please use your game sense.
The Summer Drive event is on now at Buick. Right now, get 0% financing for up to 60 months on the 2025 Buick Envision. Make your presence known with available 20-inch alloy wheels with pearl nickel finish. Showcase your style with available quilted perforated front leather appointed seats. And radiate confidence on any drive with Buick's suite of standard safety features. Get behind the wheel of your Buick Envision today. Ask your Buick dealer for details.
New crust alert at Papa John's. Your favorite cheese meets your favorite pizza in the new cheddar crust pizza for only $17.99. Papa John's pizza makers created the perfect addition to their crust by melting garlic and herb seasoned cheddar cheese right on top of their fresh original dough that's made with 6 simple ingredients. Try a one-topping cheddar crust pizza today for only $17.99. You better hurry though, because it's only for a limited time. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, proudly locally owned and operated.
And here comes Action Electrical Service Team sprinting onto the scene. These are your first responders for any electrical emergency.
That's right. With their fleet of service vans and specialized gear, they assess, they service, and maintain electrical lighting and automation systems. They're all about rapid response.
Quick diagnostics and repairs to restore power and safety fast. Hire the Action Electrical team to bring home a win for your project. Visit actionelectrical.net.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
So you're dying from the heat, sweat dripping on your sheets. You want to cool it down, but your AC can't compete. So you fall upon your knees and cry out, oh please, I need a cooling breeze. Send me Legacy's AC Repairman. Legacy's AC Repairman. AC Repairman. Can't spell Legacy without AC. Legacy Heating and Cooling's got a guy who's really good at fixing broken ACs. So if you got one, call Legacy. Okay, see you later. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
The Summer Drive event is on now at Buick. Right now, get 0% financing for up to 60 months on the 2025 Buick Envision. Make your presence known with available 20-inch alloy wheels with pearl nickel finish. Showcase your style with available quilted perforated front leather appointed seats. And radiate confidence on any drive with Buick's suite of standard safety features. Get behind the wheel of your Buick Envision today. Ask your Buick dealer for details.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Leading Edge Physio. The team in Old Strathcona have special training dedicated to reducing the impact of cancer care before, during, and after your diagnosis. From lymphedema to the management of fatigue and side effects of chemotherapy and radiation, they can help. Learn more at leadingedgephysio.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
$3.49. Welcome back. Gregor, Brown, Halley, Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Hope you are having a lovely day as it's time to get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick, the sale to beat all sales. Black Friday pricing was on Friday. I'm reading the wrong liner. What an idiot. Today is the 23rd. Guess what? Boxing Day is back at The Brick. For 4 days, you can shop incredible deals. Mattresses starting at only $99. This is the Sean Brown special. No one loves a sale more than Sean Brown. Queen bed start at $199. Also, free local delivery on outdoor furniture purchases of $499 or more at The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys, the draft gets going on Friday at the NHL level. Is there one player that you think people might be sleeping on?
I don't know if they're sleeping on him because I think he's ranked in the first round, but I'm going to go with a local kid, Braden Coots, just because I know the family. I know the kid. I've actually coached him, worked with him, and super nice kid. You know what? His stories.
Plays for Seattle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? It's interesting because I remember him when he was a young kid. I'm talking like novice, and there was kids that were better. And the one thing that I always remember and will stick out for me is that just watching him go through drills and watching his determination to try and be first and to try and beat the kid that was ahead of him, which is just, you can't teach that, you know? So it's been nice watching him develop and grow and have this opportunity and you know, hearing lots of good things about him. And like I said, I know the family, good family. So hoping he has some success.
Yeah. It's hard to say they're overlooked anybody who's ranked in the first round for me, but I will say, I think Lyndon Lakovich is somebody who, when the draft is over, wherever he goes, people in 5 years might be like, oh, this guy probably should have went higher.
All right, question number 2. Right now, the Oilers have their 3rd, 6th, and 7th pick. Of course, trades are a possibility. How many draft picks do you think they will make in this draft?
I think they will end up making 4. I think they'll get a draft pick for Arvidsson.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I think they need to start to stock the cupboards a little bit with some of their picks. So I agree.
All right. Question number 3 for you guys. Is SGA already the best Canadian basketball player of all time?
It's a really good question, man. I know that Steve Nash won 2 MVPs, but he never led his team to a title. He never had, didn't have a scoring title like SGA. So I really do believe so. I think SGA is a better defender than Nash was. And, well, he's just bigger, so that helps for sure. So, yeah, I think, you know what? This young, you've already won a title. You've won a scoring title. You've won an MVP. You've won a finals MVP. He's off to a really good start. Yeah, I think he will be. And that, you know what? Steve Nash was a hell of a player. They're different, of course, because, Nash wasn't as much of a scorer as SGA is. But, man, you look at, like, Game 7, SGA had, almost 30 points, but he just, tosses in, what did he end up with, 14 assists? Like, he can move the ball. So I like him.
I would agree with you that he's on his way. Obviously, I mean, he's had an outstanding season and start to a young career. But the one thing that makes guys great and Steve Nash great is just, I guess, the longevity and the consistency. And so next year isn't guaranteed to anyone. So I think you still have to wait a little bit and see if he can put multiple years together. Obviously, he has the potential to be, but I just think it's hard. It's hard to be at that level. So I think we'll have to wait and see.
All right. Question number 4. Of these teams, who is most likely to repeat? Panthers, Thunder, Eagles, or Dodgers?
Ooh, good question. Well, we started the show talking about just some huge injuries in the NBA to start next season. So I'm going to go with the Thunder. All their guys are intact. They're happy. They're young, right? Like you don't have to, oh, geez, we're aging out. No. So I will take the Thunder.
That's a good pick. It's hard not to argue that one, but I'll go with the Dodgers. Just if Ohtani can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Pitching now.
And so I'll go with the Dodgers.
Final question for you guys today. It is the legend, LaDainian Tomlinson's 46th birthday.
Who?
Don't go there. In honor of the GOAT, who are your top 3 running backs of all time?
Come on. Don't. It's blasphemous. Don't waste the GOAT. I like him. He's a really good player, but he's not the GOAT.
Who are your top 3 of all time then?
Running backs?
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm going to go Barry Sanders. I thought was just unbelievable. I will go him, Emmett Smith, and I didn't see him play. I saw his numbers, but I'll put him 3rd, Jim Brown.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good. I didn't know his top 3, but I'll go with, I'm going to go with Bo Jackson.
Jim Harbaugh had more rushing yards than him.
I just like Bo. I love Bo Jackson.
Okay.
I do not love Bo Jackson. Just, for the athlete that he was.
Connor's just been waiting for that. Like,
I drop it all the time.
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh has more rushing yards career than Bo Jackson. Everyone should know that.
How many carries?
Irrelevant.
Yeah.
How does a slow quarterback have more than Bo Jackson, who's the GOAT to people?
Well, he's not the GOAT.
He's not. I would say he's not the GOAT, but he, in my mind, just because of the athlete he was, I'm actually wearing shoes that kind of represent him. I'll go with Bo Jackson, Marshall Lynch, and let me just kind of, I don't know. After that, I'll go with Brown. Yeah.
Jim Brown is pretty good. Barry Sanders, Barry's
Oh, yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah.
Man. He was so dynamic to watch. God, I wish he would have played longer. It's the only name. Who are your 3 cons? Well, I know. Okay, who are your 2 outside of the
The GOAT LT. I go with guys that I've seen play, so I can actually be sure about this one. Adrian Peterson and Derrick Henry, and LT, of course.
Now, is Adrian Peterson like the best boxer at poker events?
Terrible boxer at poker events.
Oh,
did you saw the fight? Did it kind of underwhelm?
Well,
that's Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, but he's not he's a
Did
running
he actually
back.
fight him?
Yeah, they got into they're throwing some punches. There's a few punches. I want to know what were they like? What was the hand that led to actually fighting at a poker match? I didn't read up enough on it. I'm kind of like, do I really need to care? I would like to know without having to do the research. So that's how lazy I am on this topic. I'm just being bluntly honest. I didn't care enough to find out what could lead you to want to fight a guy at a poker event. It's cards. What did he do? Does anybody know? Cons, can you what would lead you to honestly, he can't impact your hand. He can bluff you.
It's funny.
So, what do you fight a guy over in poker?
It's funny you say that because I wasn't playing poker, but I was at the Argyle Casino there, and I was playing blackjack or watching someone play blackjack, and I'm listening to this guy talk at the blackjack table, and
telling everybody what to do.
He was just so annoying. Just listening to him tell people, you should take this card, and some people just have that to them. Right? They have that annoying voice, annoying personality where you're just
was he
this guy had it for me.
But was he telling them was he playing by the rules and saying, hey, because people who don't hit at the right time, it is annoying. You kind of, if they do it too many times, it screws up the table. So I get it, but
it's still I don't think I get those guys. For me, I don't like gambling. I'm not a big gambler.
Yeah.
So that if I play and I get there's basic strategy.
Yeah.
But if I want to take a card, I will take a card because I feel like I have the right. It's my money to take a card. And I don't want to. And there are people that share their opinion and they annoy me. Right. And I'm not there. I mean, so I'm not.
But are you taking your card at the worst possible time? Like, are you
I
hitting,
might.
are you hitting
might.
on a 15 when
Sometimes-
the dealer's showing a 6?
No.
Okay.
No, but
Well, just
sometimes I have a
checking
gut
on what
feel.
level.
I have a gut feel. I have a gut feel.
Okay,
I'm
like
there
on a
for. I'm
16
there for.
sometimes?
I'm there for entertainment.
Okay. Yeah, that's
I want to
fair.
have some
Yeah.
fun.
No, that's true. There is something to be said about if you're not playing at the high limit table, then you probably should zip it.
And there's people that I find when you're
Because you
playing.
can just get up and leave. I've been at tables where I'm like, hey, this guy.
I've cleaned out a table just because of the way I played. So but like I said, I don't.
So
go
you're
by-
the guy who always plays wrong. You're like, you know what, guys?
I don't always play wrong.
I'm feeling it. I'm
Yeah.
hitting a 16.
I do sometimes go with my gut. If people don't want that, but yeah, I don't think you could be.
Well,
like,
sometimes you have to a little bit, but
yeah. So I don't know.
Because there are cards that are
Yeah.
50-50s, right?
Yeah.
There
so
are some.
Sometimes, you're just kind of playing a hunch, right? And so anyway,
Does it
getting
work?
back to the guy,
Does it work?
I'm not a gambler, and I don't win a lot of money because I don't.
Because you're playing a hunch.
I don't have the patience. But
You
this
can get-
guy
you can
was
get the laminated
annoying me.
card that
What's
tells you where to hit. Now it kind of takes it out of it, but if you're there to
Yeah.
win,
I'm
Is it-
there to have some fun,
okay,
and entertainment.
but is it more fun to win?
Absolutely.
Go play at playalberta.ca, because then guess what? You can play online. No one can
Yeah,
yell
but
at you.
the whole part of it is just for me is going out, seeing people,
Yeah.
the atmosphere.
Still, just do it there. Then you're not gonna get.
Yeah.
No one can get mad at
Well,
you.
they definitely make it easy. I'll give them that. Like it's. I can see, having.
Well, you don't have to listen to the guy yelling at you at the table, Brownie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Just don't
fair.
read the chat.
Yeah. Maybe I just gotta
Hmm.
find a better way that
Yeah.
someone's telling me. Find some skills to deal with all the different types
Yeah.
of people. That's what my wife says.
Block it out.
Yeah.
So, are you the guy? Did you get in a fight? Is this the long story?
No,
Did you get in a fight?
Absolutely
No,
not.
okay.
Absolutely not.
I just want to check.
Yeah.
When is the last time you were in a fight outside of hockey?
Oh,
Have you ever
God.
been in a fight outside of hockey?
Well, Jesus, I think we all have when we were teenagers.
Oh,
Like
okay.
younger.
But is that like so? As
I haven't
an
been in a
adult,
fight. I can't even remember. There's definitely a few people I'd love to fight. Don't tell you that. But we're just past that. There's no
like
yeah,
it
I
would
don't
take a
think-
lot. I'm guessing
for me to fight.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
not-
I
there's
get
a
it. You
couple
reach your
people
third
that
stage.
actually it wouldn't take me a lot.
No,
there's a couple of people I'd love to fight. I just can't. We're just doesn't.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to try to guess this. I love it.
I'll
Brownie?
I'll actually tell you.
Yeah, Brownie. Brownie, have yourself a great week. We will chat with you next Monday on the eve of free agency.
Am I out Monday or no? Yeah, because
No, with free agency, we're the 30th.
okay, I
Yeah.
might be in Winnipeg.
Oh well, then I guess you won't be on.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Yeah,
No.
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, you let me know. Going to Winnipeg. Enjoy it. Let's get to the comment on a sports 1440 update brought to you by Fountain Tire. We're here to take care of your vehicle and your wallet. From tire checks, oil changes, alignment, and brake inspections. They'll save you money and save you time. FountainTire.com.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Yeah, I'm Ducks have traded forward Trevor Zegras to the Philadelphia Flyers for forward Ryan Poling, a 45th round or overall pick in this weekend's draft, and a 2026 fourth rounder, 6'10", 12 goals, 32 points, 57 games last season. And the Edmonton Oil Kings making a move, acquiring Max Kern from the Tri-City Americans in exchange for the 2025 first-round CHL import draft, a 2026 first-round pick, a third pick in 2029, and a fifth-round pick in 2027. Brutal news for the Indiana Pacers and star Tyrese Halliburton as he's suffered a torn right Achilles in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. For multiple reports, he'll miss the 2025-2026 season. And in the majors, you got the Padres taking on the Nationals, Bo Sox, Angels, Cubbies in St. Louis. Brewers host the Pirates, Braves up against the Mets, and the Orioles taking on the Rangers. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by Kevin Woodley from In Goal Magazine. Also, Shane Malloy will join us to talk some NHL draft. And we'll hear Cam Tate's 2-minute warning. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
The KJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
New crust alert at Papa John's. Your favorite cheese meets your favorite pizza in the new cheddar crust pizza for only $17.99. Papa John's pizza makers created the perfect addition to their crust by melting garlic and herb seasoned cheddar cheese right on top of their fresh original dough that's made with 6 simple ingredients. Try a one-topping cheddar crust pizza today for only $17.99. You better hurry, though, because it's only for a limited time. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, proudly locally owned and operated.
Experience Edmonton Stingers Pro Basketball. Celebrate Canada Day with a game on Tuesday, July 1st at 4 p.m. It's the most affordable, family-friendly, fun sports experience in the city. Tickets start at just $20. thestingers.ca.
Legacy Heating and Cooling jingle auditions take one for Gene Principe. Hey, thanks for being on time.
I'm always punctual. Now, how about some cool beats while I drop the heat?
Ready when you are.
Tall legacy. Tall legacy.
First bird, beat that.
Boom! I'm a musical
Who's
genius.
going to join us?
Legacy's
Connor Halley, we've had a
for AC season.
What's not to love with no interest and no Principe payments for 1 year?
Are you always like this?
Yep. Unlike Legacy, I never know when to cool it.
Legacy Heating and
draft
Cooling.
week.
You have a choice, and it's a hard one. GMC employee pricing or 0% financing at Wolf GMC Buick. A hard choice, but also super
Gregor,
awesome. Get
Brown.
GMC employee pricing on our Sierra lineup, from the Sierra half-ton to the heavy duties. If you have cash, get discounts over $12,000 on many of our Sierras, along with GMC pricing. Or choose 0% financing on our Sierra half-ton lineup. And what a great selection of GMC terrains and fabulous Buick SUVs to pick from. So many choices. But one thing's for sure, you are getting the best deal at Wolf GMC Buick.
Hey, everybody, it's Gene Principe. How would you like to join me and others? It's the Edmonton Hockey Legends Cruise, and it's the summer of 2026. It begins July 17th, 7 nights on the Mexican Riviera. We go to Cabo, Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, and visit cast.tours/Edmonton. Number to call is 1-833-347-7678.
Save $200 when you mention promo code Stingray Radio. That's cast.tours or call 1-833-347-7678.
The sun is shining, the weather's warm, and some of Edmonton's favorite sports are back in season. If you're looking for the cherry on top of a perfect summer day, check out Play Alberta to experience casino, sports, and lottery all in one app. Download the Play Alberta app today and deposit $20 or more with promo code OIL to claim a $100 casino bonus. That's promo code OIL for a $100 casino bonus on us. Gameable once per Play Alberta account. Remember, if you gamble, please use your game sense.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. Feeding a crowd, get the triple play. 3 large specialty or 5 topping pizzas for only $54 when you use promo code 3play at papajohns.ca.
Hat tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Just after 4 o'clock, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley. We had a lot of texts coming in. A lot of people going, Walter Payton, Eric Dickerson. Yes, some very good ones for sure. 833-401-1440. It's the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game. Use the promo code Gregor50. You'll get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca. As it's time to get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by Silent Rides Charter Company, one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies. It will take you and your group safely, whether you're going on a road trip for sports, whether it's band, whether you got a big event for the weekend. They'll get you there safe and sound. SilentRides.ca. As we are joined by Kevin Woodley from In Goal Magazine and NHL.com. Woodley, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. I survived my daughter's high school graduation this weekend, mixed in with a little Calder Cup coverage, and getting ready for a draft on the weekend and into free agency.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I did want to talk today free agency, and specifically for the Oilers, goaltenders. And I went through the list of goalies. There's not a long list of available goaltenders. Obviously, there's Jake Allen, and we can go down the list of some of the other guys. So let's start. I looked at the free agent list. Dan Vladar, Georgiev. You got Forsberg. Is there, if you look at them all and then you look at their strength and weaknesses, Samsonov, Vanasek, or some other guys, Alex Lyon, is there one or two that you say, hey, I think their style and what they're good or bad with fits to how Edmonton plays and the chances they give up?
Okay, so we'll start with Ilya Samsonov, coming off a down year. But for as many times as we've had the discussion about Stuart Skinner's narrow butterfly, and as frustrating as that has been for Edmonton Oilers fans at times because of the extra movement that it creates and some of the pitching forward, that is Ilya Samsonov. So why don't we just scratch that one off the list, because I'm not sure anybody there wants to sign up for more of the same. Again, this isn't a criticism. This is just a reality physically that you're dealing with when it comes to Ilya Samsonov. And he was coming off a down year. From there, let's go to Jake Allen, because he is absolutely going to be the number one on most lists, I think, in terms of free agents. And I guess the big question here is, what are you looking for? You're looking to upgrade your backup spot? Are you looking for someone who, can play even 1A role, straight split? And I think Jake Allen checks all those boxes. His overall adjusted save percentage for the year finished in top 15 in the National Hockey League. Like, there's a reason. He's coming up a really good year behind a middling defensive team. And there's a reason he is the top target in a game of musical chairs that is missing a lot of guys compared to recent years. And when I go further into sort of the strengths and weaknesses of his game, and listen, the Oilers were a good defensive team last year. The only 3 categories where they were in the bottom half of the league were clear-sighted shots, where they were 16th. And that's actually a category you don't mind giving up more of, because those are the easy ones. Slot area, so open looks from the slot area, they were 23rd. And slot line, so plays across the middle of the ice. We talk about the east-west. They were 16th. And the other one was, I looked at screens and rebounds, because they were actually top 10 in the league in both of those categories in terms of what they gave up, but they were well below in terms of the amount of goals that went in. They were -6 goals relative to goals expected over the course of the year in both of those categories. So those are kind of the ones, as well as breakaways. They were only 10th in the league in terms of what they gave up, but they gave up 4 more goals than you should. So that doesn't seem like much. I think for me, when I look at Jake Allen, breakaways, he's even. That saves you 4 goals right there. When I look at rebounds and screens for him, rebounds are around league average, a little bit below, so you're not getting much saving there. Screens are one of his strengths. Smart goalie, knows how to manage them, knows how to find position and get in lanes. He's +4 there. So you've got like a 9-goal swing on that alone. Slot line plays +7. Now the Oilers goalies were actually not bad on slot line plays. So this would be sort of more the same, a little bit of an improvement statistically, but at least in an area where this team gives up a bunch, he's really good on that. Slot area, again, above expected, +2.5. So the areas that allowed him to be a top 15 goaltender in the National Hockey League last year on adjusted save percentage also happen to be areas where the Oilers either A, give up more of their chances, or B, weren't getting the types of results, with the exception of slot lines where their guys handled that really well. So to me, Jake Allen's the number 1 target around the league. To me, Jake Allen would be a fit for the Edmonton Oilers. And I think the list kind of falls off from there, Jason.
Okay.
But when I look at sleepers, I think one of the ones, well, there's a couple here. One is Anton Forsberg, because I do believe that Anton had a year where he was coming off. I don't know how many people recall the knee injury that he sustained, where it was like, I think it was both knees or both ligaments in one year. It might have been both knees. Like, it was brutal. And it wasn't until the second half of last season that he sort of got his game and his legs back under him. And from there on, again, performed near the top of the league on adjusted save percentage standpoint. So he's a guy that may have more upside and may be available cheaper on the free agent market than a guy like Jake Allen. Now, in terms of fit, the one thing that worries me here is breakaways are an issue. So there's one where, again, they're a good team, but he's not saving them many more goals than the other two were. He's better than Stu on those, not quite as good as Calvin. When I look at clear-sighted shots, and this is a bit worrisome, he was on just 260 chances, like 7 goals, which is, full 4 below. Screens, he's good. Slot line plays, he's good. Slot area, he's a little below league average. So he's a guy that's more of I think this guy might be a bargain overall, as opposed to he's an absolute perfect fit. He's less of a fit, in fact, than Jake Allen from a strength and weakness standpoint, because those bad goals, the clear-sighted goals, those are the tough ones. And the Oilers were good at not giving up too many of those as a team. Their goaltending tandem. And if you're giving up a lot of easy shots, that's a good thing. But if your goalie's letting more of them in than he should, that's a bad thing. And that would be the one area where even after he sort of found his game, he had that tendency to have the one that made you groan a little bit, the one that statistically qualifies as a bad goal. Some of the other guys, when I look at them, Dan Vladar is a guy who good in the slot area.
Yeah.
League average on slot line plays, league average on clear-sided shots, one-timers, screens a little above. Like, I don't know that performance-wise, he fits the bill. He plays more like Stuart Skinner. He looks more like Stuart Skinner. Size-wise, he takes up a lot of space. He got some really tough starts last year for the Calgary Flames. It's like they held on to Wolf for the games they could win and sometimes threw Vladar into ones they didn't feel they had a chance. And he held water. But at the end of the day, he finishes the year below expected. And some of the areas where, again, he's not saving you much on rebounds compared to the other two. Not a ton on breakaways. Clear-sided shots, again, around league average. Slot line plays a little below. You're probably actually losing 6 or 7 goals on the season on east-west stuff for Vladar compared to the other guys. So to me, less of a fit, but a guy that I know is going to be on other teams' radars. Maybe as high as the second or third choice for other teams. I might let him slip a little further than that if I'm the Oilers. Vitek Vanacek, I know he finishes with a Stanley Cup, but that was a really tough year for him. Clear-sided shots, one-timers, slot line plays, broken plays, breakaways especially. 13 breakaway goals this year on just 32 chances. To me, I don't see enough of an upgrade when we get down into the microstats. There's nothing that really matches up with what the Oilers give up beyond just, hey, he'd be better behind a good defensive team. But really, there's nothing that matches up perfectly that makes me say he'll be better in Edmonton than he would be anywhere else. Another guy who's kind of in the same boat is Alexander Georgiev, minus 11 on slot line plays. So, there's one where they're mid-pack as a team giving them up, and he's well below league expected. Rebounds, you're not saving anything there. Screens, he's minus 6. Clear-sided, he's minus 4. Honestly, about the only thing where you're saving goals compared to what you got there is on breakaways. And to me, that's too big a risk. Unless you think you can get him closer to the guy he was in New York than the guy he was in Colorado or the guy he was. And listen, tough environment in San Jose last year. To me, that's a bit too risky of a swing. And last, let's take a look at Alex Lyon, because all he does when he gets a chance to play is win. Now, we've had Alex on in-goal radio, on the in-goal for the pro reads where he breaks down plays. Right. Just an incredibly intelligent goaltender, Jason. Thinks the game at another level. And so with that comes a little bit more, like he's more of a read and react guy.
Okay.
And so you get him into a rhythm behind a good defensive team. We saw he got the Florida into the playoffs just a couple of years ago, pretty much on his own while Bobrovsky was injured late in the season. There are going to be more inconsistencies and more ups and downs.
Okay.
But when I look at breakaways, league average, that's an upgrade on what the Oilers got last year. When I look at rebounds, a little bit below, broken plays, a little bit below. But again, those are areas where they're a good defensive team. Slot area and slot line plays, screens, he's above on all of those. Clear-sided, he's right around league average. Like, to me, he's riskier because his style is unique, but kind of like Calvin Pickard a little bit. But whenever he gets a chance to run with it, he seems to do really well. And to me, that's not surprising given how, that rhythm, that timing, that reliance on reads that he comes with is going to be better the more you play. And so if you're looking to back off workload for Skinner and have a guy who you see more upside in, there's no guarantees here. It's not like he's a letter perfect fit, but I'd certainly have him higher on my list than some of the guys that you and I have talked about so far, the Vanaceks, the Georgievs, because there is some fit there. And like I said, I do believe there is more. If you're going to play him more, you've got more upside. And he's such an intelligent goaltender. I think you got to not worry about, be cognizant of fit with your other guy and their ability to sort of read off each other and feed off each other and maybe learn off each other. I think you get that in Alex Lyon. I think you get it in spades in Jake Allen.
Okay. Now, Kevin Woodley from Ingo Magazine and NHL.com joins us. Kevin, it's come out, no surprise. The Ducks are still looking to move Gibson, and there's some reports maybe Demko out of Vancouver. I'm not so much sold on that one, but either one of those guys, if you had to pick, it's cost and everything. We'll remove cost here for a second because that's obviously going to be a big one. But if you look at Demko and you look at Gibson and then you look at injuries and then you look at how would they fit in with a guy like Stuart Skinner, is there one that in a utopian world, if you could get him and cost is similar, whatever cost is there one you'd like better?
I think that the upside, and obviously the injury risk is real, but I mean, there's only one guy on that list right now that when healthy in the past few years has been played at a Vezina Trophy level, right? Like Thatcher Demko just has more. Like Thatcher Demko with a healthy start to the season could be on Team USA. He's that good. Now that also brings risk in an Olympic year. If he makes it, you've got to mitigate his starts even more so. The reality is he's yet to make it through a year healthy as a number one. The injury he sustained last year, which was due in large part to being rushed back, and he was on board with it, but rushing back from an injury sustained late in the season so that he'd be ready for playoffs. That's the only reason this happened. Up until that point that year, if you play him in the 45 to 50 game range, like he was fine. He went to the All-Star game, came back, was playing at a Vezina Trophy level, got on a heater out of the All-Star game, and for whatever reason, they just played the wheels off him for 6 weeks. He was at a 65 start pace for 6 weeks when he injured his knee and then rushed back for the playoffs. And so if you get him, and if you are very cognizant that you cannot play him at that pace, that it's 45, 50 max, and you get him through the season healthy. Now, listen, like that's the challenge with 45, 50 max is, can he then play every second game for you for 2.5 months through to the Stanley Cup final? And that's a very real question. But to me, the upside there is just so high. I still think that John Gibson, I want to see him on a good team because I think there's upside there as well. But where his game is at compared to Demko's, I think a healthy Demko's in a different stratosphere.
Do you think Gibson, because he said openly, and I appreciate his honesty, he didn't really want to be, if he gets traded, he wants to be a starter, doesn't want to really be a tandem guy. Is that cause for concern if you're the Edmonton Oilers, unless you're moving Skinner out?
Well, I mean, the cause for concern there would be that he wants to be the guy, but he, much like Demko, has had a tough time staying healthy and making it through an entire season. So there's a risk with both of them. And so I want to be the guy does not compute with, I don't know what his highest games played total is, but, I don't think, maybe there's a year here or a year there, but of late it's been difficult to stay healthy. And so, and the reality is in Anaheim, he's a job share guy right now too, because Lucas Dostal has taken such a step. But listen, I really like Gibson's game in the first half of last year. It fell off down in the second half a little bit, again, as injuries started to mount. So you can't ignore that. Really good on the clear-sided stuff. Pretty good off the rush. Slot line plays okay. Where he struggles is down and around the goal line. So broken plays, scrambles, slot line plays below the hash mark. So east-west below the hash mark. Those are things that I think there can be a temptation, Jason, to look at those numbers, look at how he plays and say, well, we can fix this. We can change how he plays on his posts. We can update his post play.
Right.
But man, he's been doing it his way for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's not like Anaheim wasn't cognizant of it. They have really smart goalie people from Sudarshan Maharaj all the way down. And to a certain degree, they let him play it the way he played it because they believed there was more upside. They didn't want to make him too formulaic and robotic a goaltender. And he's been sort of allowed to do it that way for so long that I don't think you can look at those numbers. And some of them are glaring. Like the low slot line stuff is like 1 of every 3 go in. That's an issue if you give up those. Now, hey, not something that the Oilers give up a ton. They're mid-pack on that. But if you're looking at it and saying, hey, well, we can fix this for a goaltender that doesn't want to be a part of a tandem, I wonder if there'd also be a resistance to changing how he plays.
Kev, great stuff, man. Next week we're going to talk goalie coaches. Is we'll see. There could be a little bit of a carousel. There always is with goalies, and sometimes even with goalie coaches and goalie directors. We'll get to all that next Monday on the show. Have yourself an awesome week.
Thanks, Jason.
It's Kevin Woodley from In Goal Magazine and NHL.com. Quick break. We will return, and hey, we'll talk some goalies. We're also going to talk a few of the local kids. It is draft week. NBA, but mainly also on Wednesday, then the NHL on Friday. Order fans, I know you don't have a draft pick in the first round. Your team doesn't have a pick in the second round, which isn't a surprise when you look at teams who made it, who won a round. Not a lot of them have first-round picks. Never mind, there's only, I think, 3 who have even 2 picks in the first 3 rounds. So we'll chat about that and more next. Shane Malloy on the Jason Gregor Show, Sports 1440. Sports1440.ca is always presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Lotto Max tomorrow, $40 million. Get your tickets at PlayAlberta.ca.
Is it Riverside Motorsports?
No. It's Riverside Motorsports. Over 55 years in business, and people still get it wrong.
Guess it's time to get it right.
Riverside Motorsports. What you do for fun is our business.
Backed by popular demand, the Operation 36 Junior Golf Program at Cattail Crossing Golf Club. Designed for kids ages 5 through 17, it combines instruction and on-course play, focusing on technique, strategy, and course management. Taught by certified CPGA pros. Only $325 for 4 weeks of instruction, plus 4 9-hole rounds of golf. Operation 36, Wednesdays 5:30 till 7:30 p.m. through August. Register at cattailcrossing.ca. Click on Junior Program or call 780-973-6686.
You don't have to wait. Boxing Day is back. Brick. For 4 days, shop incredible deals, like mattresses starting at just $99. Save big on genuine leather sofas and sections. Queen beds start at only $199. And save the tax when you buy 2 or more major kitchen appliances. Plus, get free local delivery on outdoor furniture purchases of $4.99 or more. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details. Boxing Day starts Friday at the Brick, saving you more.
It was a heck of a ride. Thanks to the Edmonton Oilers for a fun playoff run. Now it's time to turn to football, soccer, baseball, and other summer sports from the team at Sports 1440, Edmonton's sports leader.
The 2025 Nissan Rogue is Motor Trend's #1 compact SUV for the 3rd year in a row. Why? Exceptional capability, value, and safety that beat all others to become Motor Trend's #1 compact SUV. Now finance a new Rogue from just 0.49% for up to 48 months. That's a finance offer that's better than other Japanese and Korean competitor SUVs. Hurry into your local dealer for the award-winning Nissan Rogue. Includes 0.5% loyalty reduction for qualifying Nissan owners. Conditions apply. See Nissan.ca for details.
Visit your local Edmonton and area Nissan dealer for more information. From Lloydminster to Lacrete, from Lethbridge to Lake Louise, and everywhere in between in this beautiful province, for almost 40 years, Alberta Dreams has been bringing joy and hope to seriously and chronically ill children. We've brightened the lives of over 1,200 families by giving them precious moments of happiness that create lasting memories beyond their challenging days. Please visit albertadreams.ca today and become part of something truly special for these deserving kids in our province. Alberta Dreams, a child, a wish, a dream come true.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Culligan. For all your residential water needs, your local water treatment company, more than just big bottles, Culligan.com.
Hat tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.428, welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Flying through a show, man. Busy week. There's lots going on. It's really no downtime. We haven't even got into it, but in July, we'll probably even have to talk about the FIFA Club World Cup. It's the first one I ever remember seeing, and it's very interesting, so we'll get into that. Of course, there'll be free agency talk. Lots of big moves. We've already seen a big move in the NBA. Kevin Durant getting traded to Houston. That's actually, I think, a decent trade for Houston. They got a boatload of draft picks. And Kevin Durant, if he can stay healthy, can still play. We'll see. Now, let's get to our draft report brought to you by your Alberta GMC dealers. Employee pricing is on now. Stop in. You can save up to $12,000 on a 2025 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab Denali at your Alberta GMC dealers. And we are joined. Hey, we're talking NHL draft, one of the best guys to talk to, of course, over 20 years. He has been scouting, been on the show, geez, almost that long, I would think. Of course, you can hear him on Sirius XM. Shane Malloy joins us, of course, also at Elite Prospects as well. Shaner, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Yeah, this is year 20 of the show, and this will be my 26th draft I covered. So, yeah, I'm like that Moss. I just, I stick around.
Nice. Now, you cover this one will be a little bit different. The teams are only sending one or two people from their organization. It sounds like this might be a one-off, and they'll go back to having everybody in one place. But it's not going to lessen the importance of making the right pick. And Shane, when you look at yours, I know you got Schaefer at number one. He played 7. Then you got Misa. You got Porter Martoni at 3, Desnoyers 4, Frondel. You got Hagens 6. Some people are like, Hagens is higher. Now, I know the gap between I guess I'll let you answer. How much is your gap between Schaefer and Misa at 1, 2?
Very little. Very little. The reason why Schaefer is at 1 is simply positional. When you can get a number 1 defenseman, you take them and you say thank you and you move along with your day because they're so rare. And the price to get those type of players, whether in a trade or free agency, is always astronomical. So from that standpoint alone of scarcity, you have to take them. So that's why I always end up pushing the defenseman ahead of any forward, even a centerman. Okay.
Even a center. Now, that was my because you look at Misa, he is a really good player.
Yes.
And, I think I won't be shocked at all if in 5 years he's the best player in the draft.
It's quite possible, 100%, especially because points magnify everything. That doesn't necessarily mean, we've seen it before, that Tuesday game against a bad team and you rip up 2 points. And how many times does that happen throughout a season? That may give you an extra 15 points. And they're really, at the end of the day, fluff points. So it magnifies points sometimes. But having a defenseman who can play 25 minutes a game and skate like that and up and down the ice just takes away time and space, creates plays, takes away plays. I think sometimes we just forget how valuable those type of defensemen are and how hard they're to get. And that's just a cornerstone. So for the New York Islanders, there's Schaefer and Dobson, and there's 7 years of those two players together for, shoring up your first pair and then just build the rest of your defense behind that.
Yeah. And I understand why you would do it. I like Misa a lot. Now, interesting. Now, between Martoni, Desnoyers, Frondel, and Hagens, they're all forwards, right winger, and 3 centers. How much of a gap do you have between those guys?
Very slim margin. And the reason why I have Porter Martone at 3 is because he's a power forward. Now, in the past, I know my bias is towards power forwards. One, they're very rare, so scarcity is a consideration. So I have to worry about weighting that. I have to protect myself from myself. I'm my biggest problem when it comes to rankings. So in my system, I do have to mention that. But also supply and demand. How many power forwards are there out there? And how hard do they get them? And look how the playoffs are played. So I put him at number 3. And then that division between Desnoyers, Frondel, Hagens, the only difference why I have Hagens below the other 2 is 1, size. Size on the road and size in the playoffs matter, particularly in 5-on-5 matchups. So that's really one of the main reasons and also I think Desnoyers and Frondel match up better defensively 5-on-5. Particularly on the road. So, and again, in the playoffs, that matches up. I started changing how I do my rankings about 5 or 6 years ago. And what I started doing historical data on, what do teams covet in free agency? What do they covet at the deadline? Which players succeed in the playoffs? And I took the attributes of all those players and playing styles, and I started how I construct my draft list differently. And very much of it is based on that. So I had Jason Buchla on my show. He reviewed my top 32 and he started to laugh because we primarily talked about the B game of a player more than their A game, because I think that part of the floor really tells you about how they're going to succeed once they get into their prime years. And are they that skilled offensive player that can only play in certain situations? And I'd rather have somebody who has greater versatility throughout the lineup.
Shane Malloy joins us. Now, you mentioned, Shane, that I thought was very interesting, like guys who can play in the playoffs. Now, obviously, you just want guys who can get in the league, right? And half the league doesn't make the playoffs. So, maybe they don't worry about it. But it is something like physical power forwards, guys who play with an edge. Now Sam Bennett's an easy one because he's the top of my list. Like the guy scored 50 points once in his career, but his game elevates in the playoffs. We've seen it. Like he's a better playoff player than he is in the regular season. The game's more physical. Some guys don't like it. He seems to love it. Are there guys in the first round that you look at and say, you know what, they might not be big high-end point production guys, and that might have people drop off what their top end is, but they're actually better suited based on what you've seen for a more physical, tight space game?
Brady Martin. He is number one on that list. In terms of a forward, he's very much a honey badger. Like he has no concern about your well-being whatsoever. And if he has to knock you out, so be it. He just plays that very much in that Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand kind of mold. And and that's just his mentality. And what he brings to an organization is he's going to drag everybody into the fight. You don't have a choice. He's going to take you there. He's going to change the complexity of what your culture is in the room. And he doesn't have to be a rah-rah guy at all. It's just you're forced to play at a different level of intensity when you're around somebody like that. And we've seen that happen with other organizations. So he's one at the forward group. At the defense group, I'd say Kashawn Atchison. He's a complete, utter throwback of a 1980s, 90s defenseman. Again, has no regard for your well-being or safety or who you are, and he'll happy to knock you out. And that's the way he plays, and that's why I end up having him at 13. Is he the most skilled defenseman left on the board? No, but that attribute and that mentality is pervasive across your entire organization, and you can't help not to want to play a little bit similar. Look at Luosterainen out of Florida. He didn't play like that in Carolina, but he comes into a situation like Florida and says, okay, these are the three things we do as a team. You need to do these. Everything else as your individual, that's fine. But you got to do these three things. And those two players, they bring it. So if I'm an organization who really needs somebody like that, I'm willing to sacrifice 15 to 20 points of Brady Martin. So he only gets 60 points a year, 65. I'll sacrifice 15 points, no problem for him.
Yeah. Well, I think there's value in that. And that's why I asked the question. I think it's great. And now as we go, Carter Bear's got a little bit of that in his game.
Definitely.
One guy who didn't play a lot is Roger McQueen. Now you got him ranked 14th. Is McQueen a guy that, if maybe he plays a full season, he would be higher?
Yes. If he didn't have the injury, he's in my top 7. No problem. But when I looked at his injury and then I found out what the medical report said, now they're expecting that this isn't going to be a reoccurring injury, but it's going to have to be, he's going to have maintenance days throughout his career. And he's probably going to miss games because of that, just maintenance days. So I had to calculate, okay, how many games is he probably going to miss in the prime of his career from 24 to 31? And I calculate he's probably going to miss about 10% a year. So that's about 8 games. So I factored that in, and that's why he dropped. If he didn't have that, he's top 7 for sure, because he's such a big tank of a player, and he's built for the playoffs. And even if he's just a second-line center, he could end up being an elite big man in the second-line hole for a centerman. So, at the end of the day, in 7 years, may this bite me in the rear end? 100%. But at some point, you got to mitigate that risk, and you can't just walk in there and go, oh, I'm going to hope it's going to be like that. Hope's dangerous when you're trying to project a 17, 18-year-old kid into a 23-year-old man.
Yeah. But that's why I wanted, because I watched him play a few times and I was like, oh, geez, like this guy big and strong, but he didn't play very much. And so you're always worried because the best ability is availability, my man. And now
100%.
He's a young guy, 6'5". He's definitely going to fill out. He'll probably end up playing around 205, 210, probably when it's all said and done. But an injury like that can definitely, injuries can derail guys. It doesn't matter who it is. In sports at any level, that's something that's derailed a lot of players, no question. Now, I would like to ask you for our Oilers fans, because they don't have a pick until the third round, Shane. And I know that, you go through you got a ton of other guys at different places. When I look at the Oilers, I think, they don't have a ton of edge or grit as far as guys. So when I look around the 80 mark, right, they got the 83rd pick. I don't think they're going to move up or down with that pick. I guess there's a chance they could. They only have a 6th and a 7th, so it's hard to move up. Maybe they move back and get another pick. But in that range, are there some kind of grit players that you like who've got some skill and a little bit of bite? Because at that point, I know some people say, hey, you take the best player available. I agree to a point where if there's something your organization lacks and you'd like to add to it, eventually you got to draft it.
Yeah, that term, best player available, is a little bit nebulous, to be honest, because each team's list and priorities are entirely different. So what team thinks is best player available on another team could be entirely different. But to answer your question, when you start getting to the third rounds, on an average third round pick, they only have a 25% chance of playing 200 games. And so it isn't high. So I always, in those kind of ranges, I look for players that, like a defensive defenseman or a guy who can be a role player, because what they are in junior, there isn't a lot for them to get better at just to play that role in the NHL. So I look at a guy like Peyton Kettles, 6'5", right shot defensive defenseman at Swift Current. Could he come in and play a bottom pairing defensive role for you and kill penalties and be a mean SOB for you? Sure, he could do that. David Bedkowski out of Owen Sound, same thing. Big, strong right shot defensive defenseman. He could play a role for that. And if the forward group, Matthew Gard out of Red Deer.
Okay.
Big up and down, gritty left winger who, if you watch the playoffs, hard charging, what does he do? He wears out defensemen. He comes in on the forechecks and battles and controls possession along the boards in front of the net, wears down defenders, wear down other lines, and causes disruption and gives you energy. Those are 3 players that I would look at from the Edmonton Oilers. A higher probability of them playing 200 games, but where they're going to play in the lineup, it's going to be the bottom of the lineup. Guard's probably an F10, but could be a guy that, the team rallies around, the guy that just comes out and just hammers guys against the boards and drops the gloves and is just a menace to play against on the fourth line. Florida, all the teams that have won Stanley Cups recently, whether it be the LA Kings with Kyle Clifford, or Jordan Nolan, or you get into Tampa or Vegas, St. Louis, Florida, they all had guys like this. So, I think sometimes in the draft, you dismiss players like that, the defensive defensemen or those kind of grinders. But look at the trade deadline. Look what guys like Ben Sherratt got. Look how much they got in return for him, or David Savard. These guys are have value. So sometimes we shouldn't dismiss them in the draft. And I like to have those guys right at the tail end of my list, because I know at the end of the day, I'll take that player over some one-dimensional skilled forward who either can play on a second line or he's playing in Europe. You're never going to he doesn't have a B game to speak of. And that's the balance for me. And I'll take the safe bet instead.
Shane Malloy joins us on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Shane, you've been doing this for 26 years. Any better at evaluating goaltenders? Because it seems like it's voodoo, man. And you got Ravensburgen in the first round, 32nd from Prince George Cougars. But how difficult is have you learned anything when it comes to goaltenders?
Yes, definitely not on the technical side. Now, you had Kevin Woodley on, and he's great. So I end up talking to 3 or 4 guys in the industry that I can pick their brain in terms of the technical side. Yeah. But I really look at the cognitive side. What I'm looking for is how they handle duress and situations. body language, how they talk to their teammates, particularly their defensemen. How do they handle it when they're getting barraged, when they let in a bad goal? What I'm looking for is how they handle stress, because 90% of the game for goalies is between the ears.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking for is how they behave under duress, and then what their habits are, because that'll tell you a lot about a kid as they progress, and that talent pool compresses at the American League, and then it compresses again at the NHL level. So for me, I always look for players like that. Like Ivan Kovic, he's 5'11 and a half. He might make 6 feet tall, but mentally, he's tough as nails. He's a gritty, SOB of a goaltender. But being barely 6 feet tall, that's problematic. Would I draft him? Sure. But I suspect he'd be a backup instead of a starter. Could he pull a Dustin Wolf? Maybe. UC Saros? Maybe, but it's not a high probability. So I'll take Ravensburger, who's like a 6'5" monster and who's athletic, and just build around that.
Yeah, you look at the goalies and, the mental part. It's not a surprise to me that so many goalies really don't find their way until they're 25 in the NHL, and some even older. Like, I look at Stuart Skinner has played a boatload of hockey, and he's only 26. There's like 7 guys in the league who played even 20 games last year that are younger than him, and none of them are like that much younger than him. So, it is a position that takes a mental toll on them. And the way the game is played now, Shane, like, it's definitely more east to west. And so there's big bodies that can help for sure, but does mobility, is it getting back into the game a bit more at the goalie position?
It certainly is, because the Russians and the Finns are pushing us in that direction. So how many of the elite goalies are Russian? Why are they elite? Their skating base. They have the best skating base of all the countries. So in Canada, the United States, we've had to catch up to that. I think the Americans are a little bit farther ahead than we are in recognizing the mobility matters. Like, what's between the ears and your feet, and like everything else in the middle, that's fine. But what's in your brain? How you move your feet, how athletic you are. I think you have to be a dynamic skater in today's game. So that definitely pays a price. And you mentioned about how long it takes for goalies to develop. The male's human brain, the frontal lobe, doesn't finish developing until you're about 23, 24. That's why car insurance companies drop their rates at 25. It's not by accident. This is based on cognitive science. So it's not a surprise that goaltenders start hitting their prime at 25, 26, 27, right? It's just they have so much more of a greater cognitive load to handle while they play comparative to a left winger on a third line. Right? Like, mentally, that job is so much easier compared to what they have to handle. So it's not a surprise that it takes that much longer. It's had nothing to do with the technical side. It's everything to do between your ears.
Well, and I think it's a great example of maybe it's why, I remember talking to Sean Burke, and he told me no kid should play full-time goalie till they're 12. They can learn positions. They learn where defenseman goes. They learn where the forward goes. That's actually going to help them, not to mention the wear and tear on their body at a young age. And then when you throw in, Shane, the cognitive side of it, it seems kind of mind-blowing to me that we're like pushing to have full-time goaltenders at the age of 7 and 8. And
100%. We have it at my son's team. He was U11, first year U11 last year, and we split our goalies. So that was helpful. But, I talk to Dr. Kevin Willis all the time. I have him on my show. He's a performance psychologist. He only works with hockey players. And he was a junior B coach, level 5 coach in the States. And he just teaches mental and emotional grit in players and how they can how to handle that and build skills. And he agrees, like, they're not capable of that consistently. And it's just such a hard on them. Like, as a kid, our goalies would face, as good as our defensemen were, they're facing 40 shots, 50 shots sometimes. Yeah. And as a young kid who's, 10, like, that's a lot, especially if they get lit up in a game. It's mentally, it can fracture them. Right. And we have to come to the bench, and I got to give them a bunch of love. Right. And then show them game film. And it's, I agree with Sean. We could get away with having them rotate them in. I like what the Europeans do. They rotate players all over the ice, and they're teaching you not to play a position, just to play hockey. Yeah. Learn if you're a defense, learn what your centers and left wings are supposed to be doing. Get up there and play that position. Yeah. And same with goalies. Understand what your D's doing, so then you can actually react better to what the D is doing as a goaltender. I think it's just we have to get away from the specialization and be more generalized at a younger age, and then start specializing once they kind of get to age 12, 13, 14, in that range.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'd be all over it. Totally agree. Shane, it's great stuff as always, man. We appreciate it. Have yourself a lovely draft week.
It's going to be fantastic. Leaving on Thursday to LA. It'll be fun.
Have fun. That's Shane Malloy. Of course, you can listen to him on Sirius XM Hockey Prospects Radio as well. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. It is the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Get ready to revolutionize your job site with Edmonton Kubota's game-changing compact construction equipment. From mini excavators and skid steers to track loaders, carriers, and utility vehicles, they have a model to fit every need, all powered by legendary Kubota diesel engines. These machines are built for performance and reliability. Transform your work with Edmonton Kubota's top-of-the-line compact equipment. Visit them today and see why they're the name you can trust for power and precision.
Whether you're a craft beer connoisseur or more of a wine aficionado, there's always something new to discover at Sherbrooke Liquor, a unique, family-owned, independent liquor store. The selection? Incredible. The non-alcohol section is also very impressive. Sherbrooke Liquor, expert, knowledgeable staff with a passion for unique finds. More than just a liquor store, we're a community. Alberta's best, the one and only Sherbrooke Liquor. Wine, spirits, and oodles of beer. Visit SherbrookeLiquor.com.
McDonald's summer drink days are back, which means it's officially summer. Enjoy your refreshing small Coca-Cola or small iced coffee for just $1 all summer. Summer's booming with summer drink days. Excludes flavored iced coffee at participating McDonald's in Canada. Taxes extra. Prices exclude delivery.
The summer drive event is on now at Buick. Right now, get 0% financing for up to 60 months on the 2025 Buick Envision. Make your presence known with available 20-inch alloy wheels with pearl nickel finish. Showcase your style with available quilted perforated front leather-appointed seats. And radiate confidence on any drive with Buick's suite of standard safety features. Get behind the wheel of your Buick Envision today. Ask your Buick dealer for details.
At Fitted Golf, we know that you continue to believe.
It's not my clubs, really. It's my swing.
Except it's already June, and you're still not playing the game you want because you continue to insist it's not your clubs. Except it really is your clubs, and we prove it every day. Fitted Golf customers continue to be amazed at how good they actually are when they use the right clubs for their swing. Why would you play the game you love but not love the way you play it? From beginners to pros, Fitted Golf makes all the difference. Visit fittedgolf.ca.
Are you looking for safe and professional travel options? Look no further than Silent Rides, one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies. Whether your group is big or small, Silent Rides has you covered. We offer state-of-the-art motor coaches, first-class service, and affordable rates. Get your quote today. For more information, call 1-877-748-0991 or visit silentrides.ca.
Well, get ready for a silly hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at EWEL.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today. Hoop, there it is. 4 days of basketball at its best. Hoop City 2025, North America's largest FIBA 3x3 showcase. The top 4 Olympic teams on both men's and women's categories, featuring Canada's women's Olympic team, with Edmonton's own Michelle and Catherine Blue. More than just hoops. There's entertainment, long-distance shootout, Grand Slam showcase, plus interactive games and prizes for everyone. Hoop City 3x3 Basketball Festival, July 31st to August 3rd. Ice Palace and West Edmonton Mall. Admission is free, so bring the whole family.
Hey everybody, it's Gene Principe. How would you like to join me and others? It's the Edmonton Hockey Legends Cruise, and it's the summer of 2026. It begins July 17th. 7 nights on the Mexican Riviera. We go to Cabo, Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, and visit cast.tours/Edmonton. Number to call is 1-833-347-7678.
Save $200 when you mention promo code Stingray Radio. That's cast.tours or call 1-833-347-7678.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. What's the best way to beat tariffs? Buy Canadian. Cantork's products are not only made in Canada, but right here in Edmonton. Save money, support Canada at cantork.com.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
$4:54. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440. Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram. Hope you're having a lovely Monday to start your week. As a draft week. Also, if you're an NBA fan, it was quite the final last night between the Pacers and the Thunder. The Thunder come away victorious, their first title. And man, the way that team is shaping up, would anybody be surprised if they go on a run of multiple here in the next few years? Man, they are deep, they are good, and they're young, and so they shouldn't, knock on wood, have many injury issues. You never know, but they're built good, man. I like the makeup of their team. We got a lot of text to get to. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Hey, Gregor, what are your thoughts on Luke Cunnin? Is he a realistic option? Solid right fourth line center. Physical, perfect replacement for Derek Ryan from Dave Q. Yeah, well, Ryan didn't really play much this season, but you're right. They do need a right shot center. I had Luke Cunnin on my board. There's Nick Bukestad. He's probably going to cost too much, but he knows the organization, right? And so since he left, he hasn't really been on a competitive team. Does he look and say, damn, I want to get back to winning? So, and maybe he would take less. I don't know. Another guy who's not going to be flashy at all, but Luke Glendening, 57% in the face-off. He kills a lot of penalties. Now, if you look at his 5-on-5 analytics numbers, you're probably going to look away. They're not great. Although Tampa's entire bottom six wasn't great. So is that a team thing? Is that an individual thing? I don't know. But it's he's another guy that I would consider. Hey, Gregor, sold on Demko. Do a closer split with Skinner. And whoever performs, you keep them. And then you have Roderick backing up. What's the cost, though, especially in division? Well, I think the cost is going to be a lot. I'm not sure Olivier Rodrigue is ready yet to be the backup, to be bluntly honest. I haven't seen anything from him that suggests he's a regular NHL goalie. Honestly, I haven't. Now, this is, he'll come in this season. And I think, he needs a contract, first of all. He's an RFA. So, but he doesn't really have many rights here. So I don't think it would be that difficult if they want to keep him. And I'm sure they probably do. But there's nothing I've seen yet that suggests, he's going to be an NHL goalie, if I'm being honest. Like, it's a hard position to play. It just is. Demko, man, I think the cost would be a lot, honestly. Like, if you're Vancouver, like, to trade, I always say, like, to trade him in division, and then your fan base is like, you know what? Now he wins a cup with Edmonton. Like, if he wins a cup somewhere else, if he wins a cup in New Jersey, oh yeah, I kind of like Demko, good for him. But for your arch rival, I honestly believe it's a harder sell. And you're going to have to pay way more. It's like when people were all mad, oh, you got to get Chris Tanev. I'm like, Chris Tanev was never coming to Edmonton. It didn't matter. It was not happening. It didn't happen. So I think it would kind of be the same with him. Hey, Gregor, wasn't Forsberg in the order system? Well, he was here very briefly that year. And remember that, he went on waivers. There was that whole waiver claim of the COVID year. So yeah, he was here very, very briefly. But not long enough to have any real sort of impact at all, right? With the Oilers, didn't play any games in the organization. So he was here, I guess, in theory. Does he count as part of your organization if he never played a game for your NHL or your American League team? Like, I don't think he does. So that's kind of where I would come out on Forsberg. I guess you had him under contract for preseason and training camp. Kind of how it is. (833-401-1440). Hey, Gregor, why do so many people hate the fact that Edmonton has McDavid and want to see him sign elsewhere? Watching them talk about this makes them look like whiny little brats. Well, I think you kind of answered your own question in the sense that the reason people in Toronto and other markets talk, oh, McDavid, oh, look what he said, and they dissect everything because they want him. Right? It's the old adage. If he wasn't good, they wouldn't all be talking about it, but they would love to have McDavid on their team. I get it. Like, Oilers fans are spoiled. You get to watch McDavid every game that your team plays, unless he's injured or a healthy scratch because it's end of the season, right? Every game. So you're like, probably a good chance on most games he's going to go something that says you go, that's pretty entertaining. So I understand it. I think it is a tad, and I don't know if that's just the climate we're in sports radio or online where people look to just see, hey, what can generate? Like, sadly, like I see people that have built up a following by just spreading lies constantly. Oh, this is going to happen. It never happens, right? This is going to happen. And then the guy hits 1 out of 10. Everyone's like, oh, so they keep following him. It's unreal. But talk of McDavid leaving, I think, is incredibly premature and unrealistic. If Connor McDavid doesn't re-sign in Edmonton, I will be shocked. I've said this for over a year, so I don't like repeating it, but I fully expect Connor McDavid to come back. Hey, Gregor, what about Hofer on an offer sheet? Well, St. Louis, reports came out today that they're talking with him and they want to get a deal done. Both sides want to make a deal done. So you can't really talk offer sheet until you get to July 1st and there's no contract there. And then keep in mind, for a player, if you have arbitration rights, Dylan Holloway didn't, but if you have arbitration rights, you basically got 4 days to get an offer sheet in. Because otherwise, would you risk waiting for one that you don't know is coming for sure and then not file arbitration? Because if you file for arbitration, you're guaranteeing yourself a contract. I guess unless the arbitrator rules so high that the team walks away, but it's pretty rare. So it gets you a guaranteed contract. Yeah, you might have to go through a little uncomfortable part of arbitration. If I was an agent, I would have my player come right up to the door and say, you can sit outside. You don't need to be in here. Why? It doesn't, like, at that point, it's business. And if you know your agent and they're not gonna like hearing it, why have them in there? I've never understood that. I would talk like, why do you want to hear? Why does it matter? Who cares? They're here to try to get a lower number. So they're not going to sit there and say, Bob, we love you. You're great at this. They're going to say, no, we think he's worth this because he doesn't do this, this, and this. Fine. So why worry about it? That's the way I would look at it. But I don't think Hofer's going to make it to arbitration. So, hey, Gregor, you said Nugent Hopkins is better center than a winger. Can you elaborate? Well, yeah, the numbers don't. Well, he said it himself. Watch the games this year. When you play on the wing, you're more stationary. And so if you've grown up playing center your whole career, your whole life, and you better in motion, that's why he's a better center. Now, he's not a top 6 center anymore. He's a third line center. So I want to be very clear on that. Can he moonlight as a second line center every now and then? Sure, if you have 2 good wingers with him. No question. He's never been a huge productive player 5-on-5. And you know what? Even when he played with McDavid, he wasn't that big of a productive player 5-on-5, which is why 2 things. It hasn't worked. Last year, that line was okay 5-on-5, not great. And then if you actually look at their goals again, I like to look at McDavid's goals against 5-on-5, his goals against per 60. This year in the playoffs was 3.2. Last year in the playoffs was 1.9. This is a significant difference. I'd want a little bit more defensive responsible player who's a better finisher. And that's what Adam Henrique is. I don't care about his speed. I think it's irrelevant. He's faster than Pat Maroon. Pat Maroon, you know what? He was unreal. When you look at his career numbers, he scored 49 goals in, I think, 154 games with McDavid. Now, they weren't all with McDavid, but in Edmonton. Majority were with McDavid. He scored 77 goals in his other 694 games of his career. It's a pretty big difference. Adam Henrique, in a short sample size, has scored 3 goals, 5 points, playing in like 53 minutes. That's not even 6 games of 5-on-5 play. And they outscored opposition 9-1. So that's why I would try to start the season. Doesn't mean he's there all year, people. People freaking out. No surprise. It's hot take people on Twitter. Oh, I don't really have anything other than to say you're a loser. Like, no, the losers are people who call people losers without offering any sort of suggestion that says it's better. Adam Henrique doesn't have to stay there all year long. But I think Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is better as a third-line center full-time. So I'd get him back used to it, and I'd build my lineup around that. Let's get to Connor Halley and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home to no payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC unit. Stay cool all summer long at legacyheating.ca.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
The Anaheim Ducks have traded forward Trevor Zegras to the Philadelphia Flyers for forward Ryan Poling, the 45th pick in this week's draft, and a 2026 fourth rounder. The 6-foot center at 12 goals, 32 points in 57 games this past season in Anaheim. He also missed 22 games with a torn meniscus. Real news for the Indiana Pacers as Tyrese Haliburton suffered a torn right Achilles last night in Game 7 of the finals against OKC. Per multiple reports, he's likely to miss the 2025-26 season. Major League Baseball, currently, Orioles-Rangers scoreless in the top of the third. Later tonight, you got the Braves and Mets. The Reds host the Yankees. Diamondbacks taking on the White Sox. Mariners in Minnesota. Cards host the Cubs. Red Sox battle the Angels. And the Padres meeting the Washington Nationals. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and hear another edition of Cam Tate's 2-Minute Warning. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
The Discovery Day sales event is on now at Volvo Cars Edmonton. It's your final month to lease a 2025 XC90 plug-in hybrid from 1.49% and save $5,000. Lease or finance a 2025 XC60 plug-in hybrid from 0.49% and save $4,000. Lease or finance a 2025 XC40 from 0.49% and save up to $2,000. Come and discover the deals now at Volvo Cars Edmonton. Great vehicles, better services. Only at VolvoCarsEdmonton.com.
Reports suggest the Canadian taste buds are bored to tears.
My mouth can't handle another dull drink.
Summertime smoothie experts everywhere are recommending a watermelon wake-up from Booster Juice.
It's so smooth, cool, and refreshing.
And ridiculously delicious. Enjoy the Watermelon Wave and Watermelon Explosion smoothies, available all summer long at a Booster Juice near you. Stay cool, Canada.
Booster Juice, Canadian born, blending since 1999. You don't have to wait. Boxing Day is back at the Brick. For 4 days, shop incredible deals, like mattresses starting at just $99. Save big on genuine leather sofas and sectionals. Queen beds start at only $199. And save the tax when you buy 2 or more major kitchen appliances. Plus, get free local delivery on outdoor furniture purchases of $499 or more. Some exclusions apply. See in store for details. Boxing Day starts Friday at the Brick, saving you more.
Diablo Boots sells only Canadian-made work and biker boots made by Canada West. No American or boots made in China, so no tariffs. All of Diablo's boots have replaceable soles and heels for longer life. Sizes 6 to 14 triple E. Buy quality, buy Canadian. And support Canada West and Diablo, the 2 best names in the boot business. So save on boots by Save On Foods. That's Diablo Boots, 3340 Gateway Boulevard on the east side of Save On Foods. Buy Canadian. They're terrific.
Hoop, there it is. 4 days of basketball at its best. Hoop City 2025, North America's largest FIBA 3x3 showcase. The top 4 Olympic teams on both men's and women's categories, featuring Canada's women's Olympic team, with Edmonton's own Michelle and Catherine Blue. More than just hoops. There's entertainment, long-distance shootout, Grand Slam showcase, plus interactive games and prizes for everyone. Hoop City 3x3 Basketball Festival, July 31st to August 3rd. Ice Palace in West Edmonton Mall. Admission is free, so bring the whole family.
As patios open up and festivals kick off, it's time to get out and enjoy everything summer has to offer. But remember, with more people out and about, the risk of impaired driving only gets higher. If you're drinking, don't even think about getting behind the wheel. Use a rideshare, public transit, or taxi. If you don't have access to them, call a friend, plan ahead, choose a designated driver. Just be responsible. One bad decision can mean losing your license, your freedom, or even a life. Choose a safe way home every time.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Sherbrooke Liquor. Sherbrooke is a house of curiosities, a mom and pop, a curated experience that is equal parts wine tastings and 2-4s for May long. See more at SherbrookeLiquor.com.
Hat tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
5:09. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. And the Edmonton Oil Kings making a pretty big deal today. Welcome back to the Gregor Show, by the way. Hope you're having a great day, or you're just joining us, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website where 100% of the revenue stays right here at PlayAlberta.ca. The Oil Kings, to me, this move suggests that they feel that some of the other competition, maybe in the Western League, might be losing some of their guys. So they went out and made a pretty substantial trade today. They acquired Max Curran from the Czech Republic from the for what do they get? A first-round pick in the CHL import draft, first-round pick next year, a third-rounder in 29, and then a fifth-rounder in 2027. Max Curran, of course, played last year, had 74 points in 65 games with the Tri-City Americans. 6'3", 190-pound left shot center who was a fifth-round selection of the Colorado Avalanche last year, and they obviously liked his first year of development, and now he'll come in the Czech connection here in Edmonton. So it's a big acquisition for the Oil Kings. So we'll check in with their GM tomorrow on the show. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. You can always text us there as we get to the Spec Report, brought to you by GS Construction, your underground infrastructure specialists. Whether you're driving home right now or you're sitting at home with running water, remember, GS gets you there. GS Construction. It's Mark Spector from Rogers Sportsnet. Joins us, Spec. Good afternoon. How you doing?
Doing fantastic, man. We couldn't be better. How about you?
Nice. You had a weekend at the lake, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I'm rested up, feeling good.
Oh, nice. That is good.
Just like wherever you spend it or whatever you do, every one of us needs like 2 days away from hockey. Just 2 days. I'm already ready to maybe get involved in it again, but a couple days away from hockey is good for your soul, man.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I totally get it. I understand it. It is draft week now. The Oilers won't be busy making a ton of draft picks, but they got 3 draft picks. How many trades do you think the Oilers make between today and next Monday?
Well, the only thing that history tells us is when it's not a great draft, teams that are, the teams that are taking on salary and trading away draft picks prefer to trade picks from the 2025 draft as opposed to the 2026 draft, which all the scouts tell us is a stronger draft. So that, to me, pushes the trade window up ahead of, Friday and Saturday, right? That'll move things up. There will be trades that happen this year that if it was in the inverse and 2025 was stronger, teams would say, you know what, we're just going to do our picks. We'll trade later. So that's what I would say. I think there's probably a little bit of a pressure there. Teams if they want to make a deal, they want to do it with this year's picks.
Yeah, well, and the Oilers, the reason I asked the question is because the Oilers got some guys, they need to shed some salary, right? And Victor Arvidsson, Evander Kane potentially. Now Kane obviously has a limited no trade clause, and Arvidsson has a full no movement clause. But Arvidsson, as I said, I had heard months ago there was talk that I think he was looking to move simply because he wanted more of an opportunity heading into the final year of his deal and felt like maybe he wasn't going to get it here. So,
Arvidsson can help a team that's not a Stanley Cup team. Like, he gets pushed down the lineup in Edmonton because they're a really, really good team. But I think there's 20 other teams where he's a top 6 player. So, if I'm Arvidsson and I want to have a good year in the last year of my contract, that's probably behooves me to go to a team that's a little bit further, that's not a total Stanley Cup contender, right? There's got to be a spot on the wing in LA, on the wing in give me a team, right? That's contending.
There's lots of teams.
Play in Montreal, play in Utah. There's lots of places he'd get better ice time and more opportunity than Edmonton.
What about Kane? Like, because here's the thing about Kane. Kane's entering the last year of his deal. And Evander Kane would be the guy. He knows. Kane is always well aware of everything that's going on. And he looks and says, hey, now, if he got to play second line in Edmonton, he'd get a pretty good chance to have a good season too. So he probably can be a little finicker to say, well, you know what? If I stay here, I know that, I'm going to have a pretty good chance to play with 97 or 29. So there is that. Now, if an organization makes it clear they don't want you, well, that's a different conversation. And Kane is still valuable because his style of play, Spec, there's a limited amount of players who can play that way. That's just a fact.
Yeah. Did we see that against Florida?
I never saw Kane like shine away, right? But was he Mr. Robust? But the Oilers, the Oilers aren't a great forechecking team, to be honest. Really, they weren't against Florida, right? Like they were a flip it out team, which I don't think worked, and I think was proven to not work.
Yeah, Kane's, we know what his strengths are, and there are strengths. There's a lot of player there. He's not great in the wall, and when they pressured him on the wall, I don't think he did a very good job. He's not a possession guy. Right. He's a guy that wants to be a shooter. He gets it and he wants to shoot it. And I don't, we've all watched this for years. He gets on Draisaitl's line and they possess it in the offensive zone, and Draisaitl holds guys off and slows the game down and makes, they cycle, it goes to Kane, and then the puck's gone. And Draisaitl's, Leon Draisaitl would never tell me this, nor has he ever told me this. But watching him play, I don't think he likes playing with Kane much. I think Kane's not a possession guy. Kane's not a make the right play, keep the cycle going guy. It's not what he is. So if we seem to think there's a spot on left wing. There certainly is a top 6 spot on left wing in Edmonton here that you'd think Kane could play on. But the problem is he's been on this team for, 3 years now or 4? And I'm not sure he's ever forged chemistry with either McDavid or Draisaitl. Has he? Is there chemistry there that I don't know about?
Well, the playoff year, obviously the first year, he was unreal, right? He had like 13 goals or whatever it was. So then, but yeah, long term, health wise, I think Kane at times, Spec can rub guys the wrong way a little bit. So I don't think we can deny that. And I think there's way more likelihood that he gets moved than if he doesn't move. But I'm just saying, he still has a say in it. So it's not like you can just trade him wherever you want, right? He still has to agree to it, at least, in half the teams out there. And I'm sure him and his agent, are wise enough to list, a list of teams that they don't want to get traded to, right? Like, you probably don't even have to put Vegas on the list, right? To say, hey, don't trade me there, because they don't want to trade him there. Because the one thing Kane can do is you want to play him against him in a series where he's motivated to be a pain in the ass? Probably not.
Right. You wouldn't trade him in your division. That's fair to say. Absolutely. And I think the Oilers are in a good spot because there is, strip it all away, there's still a really good player there. And there's a guy, he's older now. How old's Kane? Is he 33?
I think so. Yeah. 33, maybe even 34.
Look that up while we're talking.
2009.
I think he's 33. So he's got one, let's just say for fun, he's got one sort of 3-year contract left in him here. And after that,
he'll be 34 in August. He'll be 34 in August.
So he's 34. He's got one contract left. Now, I'm not saying maybe he's Corey Perry plays till he's 40. I don't know. But he's got one contract left. This coming season is giant for Evander Kane, right? This is the season that gets him his last NHL contract. So if he stays in place for your team, you're going to get a heavily motivated Evander Kane, a guy that's absolutely playing the very possible best he's got left. And that's a good player, right? I'm not sure you're going to bring in a guy that's better than that. So I kind of feel like the Oilers are in a pretty good spot right now. If they keep him, he'll be a good player. If they move him, then they get what they wish.
Yeah, I'm curious, like on what, it's interesting. Like, you might not get great value because you got to dump the salary, right? Like you look at Mason Marchment, you only got a fourth and a second, basically just because you had to dump. Well, they didn't want to retain anything. Now, maybe Edmonton's a little bit different boat, but when you look at what Evan Bouchard's contract's going to be, Spec, like I just do the math. And the thing is, anybody can go on to cap wages and stuff to see. It doesn't take rocket science to figure out. They just don't have any cap space. So if you keep Evander Kane and you sign Bouchard, like you got no money. So this isn't even necessarily a trade of, well, the player's terrible. It's we just don't have any cap space, so somebody's got to go.
Yeah, and so they'll take a couple of draft picks, and if they get a third and a fourth like Dallas got, I'm sure they'll take it because you're right. It's a salary dump. They got to make room for other guys, and that's just the game we play, folks. It's a cap system. And sometimes you got to make a move like that. But again, you're not trading like Nathan Horton cap or David Clarkson cap here. You're trading two guys in Arvidsson and Kane, who the team bringing them in can look themselves in the mirror and say, I'm bringing in a guy that can help me here. So it's not, yes. They're older. I get it. They make money. I get it. We'll figure out the math and we'll figure out the picks. But when the puck drops, Evander Kane makes you a better team. And I still think that Victor Arvidsson makes you a better team too.
If he stands up. But we'll see about that. I'm still stunned, man. Like I was like, God, I don't know if I ever have missed on a player and having that one part of their game that I'd never noticed, that the guy falls down that often, like he did when he came to Edmonton. Like
he did.
Did you know? Like, did you know that? I didn't remember. I just wasn't even part of it. I never even thought. I'm like, I never seen this guy fall down this much. It was wild to me.
It's true. I'm not gonna lie.
It was.
I felt
like it's great. Like I couldn't believe it.
And I watched him play his whole career and loved him. I loved him in Nashville, and I thought he was a real pain in the Oilers' rear ends when he was in LA. But that part, I never noticed. Maybe when the Oilers play, they're not as physical, and he didn't fall down as much. I don't know. He does. He can be the human Zamboni. There's no doubt about that.
He was falling down more than any player I'd seen. Around the league, we saw a trade. Burakovsky goes to Chicago from Seattle. That's a salary dump. We saw the Trevor Zegras trade. So we're starting to see some trade spec. Do you think the Oilers, we talked to Kevin Woodley and, he outlined the guys that he thinks fit stylistically and stuff. And, Jake Allen, the way he plays is good. Anton Forsberg's a little bit of a wild card for him. There was the talk of Demko. Demko makes no sense to me. I don't see why they would trade Demko to Edmonton.
I don't like a goalie with knee issues is just taboo. Knee or groin, right? Don't give me a goalie whose groin is iffy. Don't give me a goalie whose knee is iffy. Because the longer the season goes, the more likely it is he's about to get hurt as the games get to their most important. So Demko, if you told me he could play all season, I'd take him in a heartbeat. He's a really good goalie, but he's damaged goods. He's got to go up and play 2 straight seasons where he doesn't get hurt to get back to where he should be. And until he does that, I don't want him. Gibson, same thing. Gibson's hurt too much. So, Forsberg, I think back to the Forsberg that played for Ottawa when the Oilers beat him like 10 games in the same season or something. Remember in that lockout year?
Yeah.
Didn't the Oilers beat him every single time? I think he played half those games. I'm not a giant Forsberg fan, but maybe he's improved. Who did Woodley like? If Woodley was picking one guy, who was his guy?
Well, he said that Jake Allen's the one that makes the most sense for Edmonton. Then he had Forsberg actually is the one who he thinks has probably a good chance to fit in, just because he looked at like where are the areas of weakness, some of the goals that the Oilers allowed, and then some goals that the other guys, like where's the strengths, where's the weaknesses. He definitely was like, hey, Demko's obvious over John Gibson. He didn't think it was even close, to be honest. So, and then
comparing guys that can't finish a season.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, and then he said Samsonov would be no for Edmonton. He just thinks his style is not a fit for the Edmonton Oilers. He thought Vanacek was one who had obviously a real tough year, ended up winning. And the other guy, though, that he said, if you were looking, he thought Alex Lyon would make more sense than Samsonov and Vladar and some other guys.
Yep.
if you're looking at that. And he like Jake Allen's probably is definitely going to cost you the most. So
I feel like Jake Allen 5 years ago, absolutely, for sure. I feel like all these names you're bringing up here, forget about Stu Skinner. We're just improving on Cal Pickard now. All we're doing is bringing in a better backup. Every single one of those guys is a backup, right? Samsonov. I mean, Samsonov, forget it. Who's the name you like? I don't mind lying. The Vladar out of Calgary. He's a nice backup, but all he is a backup. None of those guys are playing for you when the chips are down or when it matters. Like, none of those guys are better than Stu Skinner. And to me, if you can't find a guy that's equal or better than Stu Skinner, what are we doing here? The backup goaltending in Edmonton is excellent. Cal Pickard is an excellent backup. I don't need a better backup. I need a guy that's as good as Skinner or better. If I can't find him, what am I doing? Is that wrong?
No, there's some arguments to that is probably fair. I do think, like, I actually thought Skinner, if you just break down his gameplay in the playoffs this year, it was better than last year because he didn't allow a soft, like the only goal he allowed that was bad was the third goal in game 6 against Florida. And it was more so because like the puck came in and he just pushed it away. It wasn't like he got beat on a bad shot, right? But he gave them clear possession. But if you look at the actual goals he got beat on, he didn't allow a goal on a low percentage chance or a mid percentage chance. He only got beat on high danger chances, excluding that one play. So the year before, he let in a few groaners, right? Now this year, you wanted him to make a few more high danger saves. Totally fair. So I look and say, okay, well, we break down the film. Stu, we really like you on the the C shots and the B shots. We'd like to make a few more saves on the A shots. So what do we do there? He's still really young. Like, by goalie standards, he's incredibly young. I broke down the numbers of guys. Like, there's like 7 guys who are younger than Stu Skinner who played even 20 games. Right? And guess what? They have a combined 3 playoff games played, and Kochekov's played all 3 of them. None of the other guys even played a game. Skinner started 50 playoff games. He's got experience. We just had Shane Malloy on talking about like learning the psychology of the position. And Skinner is showing, can he have a game every now and then you don't like? Totally valid. But he bounces back. And so, to me, unless you're getting a clear upgrade, and Jake Allen was that guy, I thought, then to me, the other ones, but I just don't think, Spec, they can roll back Skinner and Pickard from the psychology of their team. I just don't think they can do it. So they'll look and say, well, we think Anton Forsberg's an upgrade on Pickard. Sucks for Pickard, but that's what we're going to do. I don't think there's any chance you're bringing back both. And to me, there's a bigger risk in moving Stuart Skinner for a starter like a John Gibson. Like, I wouldn't do that if it's me, because I just don't know if Gibson can even be ready to play for game 1 of the playoffs.
I haven't heard a name in this segment that I'm trading Stu Skinner away for, right? And we've been through this. 26 years old, doesn't make much money, great head, tons of experience, still going to get like the goaltending, the history of watching goaltenders play, and we've all watched a lot of them, tells me that at 29, Stu Skinner is going to be, give me a number, Jay, is he going to be 20% better than he is right now? If he is, he's an excellent goalie, right? An excellent goalie. If he's 20% better than he is right now, oh my goodness. Guys win cups with Aiden Hill and Anthony Niemi. He got you to game 6. He got you to game 7. Like, if the only way I move Stu Skinner out of town is because I just got Ilya Sorokin and I'm winning tomorrow, right? If I move him out of town, it's because I just got Igor Shesterkin and I'm winning the next 2 cups. I'll trade Skinner in that scenario. Absolutely. I would never trade Skinner for a guy that's just as good, but's 30, because that guy's not going to improve. A 26-year-old goalie gets better. They all do. So, sure, you want to move on Pickard and get a better backup? Okay, I got no problem with that. Sure, go for it. I mean, it's a backup goalie. But I'll tell you right now, when the chips are down next year, if whoever you bring in is playing in game 6 in the Western Conference Final, that's a bad thing. That's not what you're looking for.
Yeah. Okay. That's valid. Spec, we will chat with you tomorrow. Talk a little green and gold and some baseball as well. Max Scherzer
Yeah,
spec.
I saw you replying on some Twitter. Who was the guy from TSN had that string about the game? Who's that guy?
Which game are you talking about?
He was talking about the weekends of CFL games, and he thought they weren't very good.
Well, no, he just talked about the Toronto game, and I agreed with all his points except one. Don't tell me that the 2-minute drill in the NFL is the greatest drill ever. When you guys, and everybody's got to sprint up to the sideline looking like an idiot. Well, no, I'm sorry, that was the only thing I disagree. Everything else, the way too many penalties, I agreed with 100%. I thought it was kind of amateur hour with all the calls. You don't even have enough guys on the field. And, at the end of the game, that's brutal. So it was a terrible game that had a good finish, but that doesn't make up that it was a terrible game.
Well, what's that guy's name?
Oh God, the tight end. I'm thinking Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson. So what got me most out of that? Yeah, it is Luke Wilson.
Yeah.
What got me the most out of that is, and I know we got to go, Luke Wilson, and he does a nice job. He's a TSN employee. And for a TSN guy to come out on Twitter and carve up the CFL, that's a big deal. I work for a TV.
I kind of, if you realize where he comes from, he explains everything. I don't want a right shoulder. Yeah, I don't want a right shoulder that's just going to cow down and be like, hey, everything's great. He was saying this game, and he explained why it was a bad game up until, this point. So they got to be better at. The only thing I disagreed with, don't tell me that the 2-minute drill, because he complained about the fact that they were able to run plays and the clock still. I'm like, yeah, you're allowed to have a comeback. In the NFL, guys take knees for the last 3 minutes of a 1-score game. It sucks. Don't tell me that that's better.
No, you're right. I'm in agreement with you too. But what he basically said, the 4 games this weekend, the football wasn't very good. That's what he said. And then he moved into that Saskatchewan game. And my point is this, as a guy that works for a big TV station, that's not something that goes unnoticed. Like, for him to be carving up the CFL, that's bad for business, man. And I respect him for it, is my point.
Yeah, see, to me,
I respect him.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's bad for business. Because if it gets people talking about your league, then it's good for business. Because at some point you got to look and say, hey, right? Because he's not just, he says the good things about the game. It's okay to also say the bad. I don't think a right shoulder just has to be well, I don't want to say what I'm going to say, but he just doesn't have to be on their knees saying, oh, everything is great.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Listen, I grew up, I love the CFL. I still watch it. I watched 3 different games this past weekend. I'm going to say I didn't love the football much. Something's got to, we're kind of hitting this is a topic for the next show because we're running out of time, but the football wasn't great this weekend, Jay. I watched a bunch of, three games. The football wasn't great. And that's, everything around the CFL can be a little goofy, but when they snap the ball, it's usually pretty fun to watch. And if that doesn't happen, if that goes away, oh boy, there's not a ton left there.
Yeah, no, it's got to be better. I thought the play call in the Elks game was terrible in the first half on Edmonton's side, but we got to go. We'll talk about it tomorrow. That's the Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. We'll get a quick break. We'll come back, catch up on the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
The sun is shining, the weather's warm, and some of Edmonton's favorite sports are back in season. If you're looking for the cherry on top of a perfect summer day, check out Play Alberta to experience casino, sports, and lottery all in one app. Download the Play Alberta app today and deposit $20 or more with promo code OIL to claim a $100 casino bonus. That's promo code OIL for a $100 casino bonus on us. Gameable once per Play Alberta account. Remember, if you gamble, please use your game sense.
McDonald's summer drink days are back, which means it's officially summer. Enjoy your refreshing small Coca-Cola or small iced coffee for just $1 all summer. Summer's booming with summer drink days. Excludes flavored iced coffee at participating McDonald's in Canada. Taxes extra. Prices exclude delivery.
The summer drive event is on now at Buick. Right now, get 0% financing for up to 60 months on the 2025 Buick Envision. Make your presence known with available 20-inch alloy wheels with pearl nickel finish. Showcase your style with available quilted perforated front leather appointed seats. And radiate confidence on any drive with Buick's suite of standard safety features. Get behind the wheel of your Buick Envision today. Ask your Buick dealer for details.
Summit Restaurant.
Located in the heart of the Silent Ice Center and just minutes from South Edmonton Common, Summit is your destination for exceptional house-made pizza, delicious entrees, and expertly crafted cocktails. Experience the perfect blend of flavor and ambiance in a modern setting. Join us for a straightforward yet elevated dining experience where our commitment to quality speaks to every bite and sip. Make Summit Restaurant your next night on the town.
An electrical solar team is now making a play for sustainability and savings. They're specialists in powering up for a greener future.
That's the strategy, designing and installing high-efficiency solar panels. They're helping homes and businesses combat rising utility costs by harnessing the power of the sun.
A smart move for efficiency and the environment. Hire the Action Electrical team to bring home a win for your project. Visit actionelectrical.net.
Whoop, there it is. 4 days of basketball at its best. Hoop City 2025, North America's largest FIBA 3x3 showcase. The top 4 Olympic teams on both men's and women's categories, featuring Canada's women's Olympic team, with Edmonton's own Michelle and Catherine Blue. More than just hoops. There's entertainment, long-distance shootout, Grand Slam showcase, plus interactive games and prizes for everyone. Hoop City 3x3 Basketball Festival, July 31st to August 3rd. Ice Palace and West Edmonton Mall. Admission is free, so bring the whole family.
Guardian Drugs Killam is a shopper's delight. Come find friendly advice, outstanding products, and smiling service.
Save on summertime essentials like Imodium liquid gels or capsules for just $16.99. Option Plus Epsom salts are $9.99 for the 4-kilogram size. A trusted brand and great value.
You'll find all this and more at Guardian Drugs, East Central Alberta's largest independent drugstore with friendly, knowledgeable pharmacists and technicians on staff. Open to serve you at the south end of Main Street, Killam.
Portions of this hour brought to you by your Alberta GMC. Dealers employee pricing is on now at GMC. Get up to $12,000 off a 2025 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab Denali Ultimate only at gmccanada.ca.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
$5:37. Jason Gregor Show, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Hope you are having a lovely, lovely Monday. We got a lot of guests lined up on the show. We're going to have a special edition of the Business of Sport on Wednesday. Rich Winter's coming back in because we want to talk free agency, man. And we'll get into the mind of the agents, and we'll talk about leading up to free agency because make no mistake, there are conversations. You know what's going on. Before July 1st hits, right? Do you think at 10 a.m. that there's these $1 million deals done in 2 minutes? Now, in some cases, there's the odd one, yes, but in a lot of cases, no. You know your client gives you a list for sure of teams. You can go through it, which teams are realistic, and what's the number you want, and then away you go. So we'll talk free agency with Rich. We're going to have Rick Tracy, also the director of amateur scouting for the Edmonton Oilers. They don't have a lot of picks, but man, that O'Reilly trade that they made last year at the draft is sure looking pretty good right now. So remember, they traded their first to Philly this year to get the first last year, and then they took O'Reilly, and the pick ended up being the exact same, 31st, a year later, and I will be very surprised if Philly gets a player at 31 who's trending in the direction of Sam O'Reilly. So that's a trade that's worked out very well. Talk a little bit about the scouting in Europe that they're looking at, and just overall, how's it changing with the potential of guys going NCAA? Does that impact anything at all? So we'll talk to Rick about all of that. Hey, Greggs, I love that you pointed out it's better to have Luke Wilson speak the truth instead of pandering to his employees' benefits. Well, it's from spite. It's true, though. It's like you never want to treat your audience like they're stupid. I'm a firm believer in that. I don't think it works, right? That's why I would argue that it's not valid to just, you know what? When you take sports and say, this is the team I cheer for, well, they never do anything wrong. No, you can be respectful about pointing out deficiencies. I also think it goes the opposite way, like in Evan Bouchard analysis. Yeah, but he makes a turnover every now and then, and I don't like it. Yeah, well, what about all the good plays he makes? You never talk about those. It can't just be negative, right? You can't let the negative overdo anything. But that game itself, finishing on a kick return, well, great. But what about the fact that Toronto didn't even have enough people on the field? That's embarrassing. Call it like it is. Oh my, what are we joking? That's awful. You can't have that. Like that's inexcusable. If you have the right number of guys in the field, like how does your cover team not know to count to 12? Like, I'm sorry, that's awful. And it doesn't make up for one play for some bad plays down the stretch. It doesn't. Like that game was like just penalty filled. It wasn't good. Now, was it entertaining? Yes. So you can have entertainment and not be the great execution. And it's okay to have games like that. It's like there's a 7-6 game in the middle of the NHL season that lots of errors. Who cares? It's entertaining. So you'll live with it. But when you only have 4 games a week, it gets heightened a little bit more. I definitely think that's okay. You don't want to have, I'm not a big believer in censorship in sports or politics. It's a joke, right? We should have to be able to look at both sides of things, not have a right wing media and a left-wing media, or have a sports that only is like, everything's great, or everything sucks, right? People are like, I like the NFL, the CFL's terrible. Well, I think your take's terrible, right? The CFL has lots of good things, but that game itself wasn't a great played game, but it was an entertaining game. Both things can happen at the same time. I think that's what happened in that game. But all I disagreed with was Luke was, don't tell me that the 2-minute drill in the NFL is like the greatest thing. Give me a break. Like what? You complete a pass. It's the only, now you got to sprint up. Why? And then, guys, everybody line up. Now we're going to spike the ball. Oh my God, that was riveting theater. I can't believe someone had the skill set to take a snap and hut the ball onto the ground. Like, give me a break. Okay. But because it's the NFL and you love the NFL, nothing's bad about it, please. There's lots of dud games every week in the NFL. The difference is there's 16 or 15 games a week. So they get hidden because they show all the highlights of the other ones. But that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of dud games in the NFL and some terrible play calling too. So if you're going to call it out, then call both ways. That's all I would say. So I hope the next time there's a real dud game in the NFL, he goes through with a fine-tooth comb on what makes it a dud game. What about the fact that you have kickoffs in the NFL? For what? So everybody runs down the field and watches the ball go out of the end zone? It is the most pointless play in pro sports. Name a more pointless play in pro sports. Just name one. I'd love to hear what it is. 833-401-1440. Can you name one? I'd love to hear it. Got any suggestions, Connor Halley? I know you're a big NFL guy.
No.
Is there a more pointless play?
No. And it makes it worse because they've tried to improve it and they still haven't. Like they've tried to do things and then coordinators are just like, no, like what's the point? We'll just still find a way to get better field position. It's not worth running it out of the back of the end zone anymore. So no, I would be in total agreement with you. Trying to make the game healthier, but at what cost, right? They're making a play totally useless.
Yeah. Hey, Gregor, I know that media won't touch a topic with a 10-foot pole until the verdict is complete, but do you think Carter gets a second chance? Bird, I'm not afraid to talk about it. No, I'm going to call it spade a spade here. At some point, you got to make a stance on sexual abuse. For me, no. Go have a second chance somewhere else. I read the whole court case. No. For me, no. It's not the same, okay? Not every second chance is the same. Our society is ridden. It's infected with sexual abuse all over the place. So, well, I think he's good at hockey, so that's okay. Sorry. No, you can have a second chance. Go play in the KHL. That's a second chance. If I'm running an NHL team, I wouldn't do it. I think it's a slap in the face to all the female employees because sadly, most of them, if you go by the odds, have probably been victims of sexual abuse. So I'm not doing it. And I'm not scared to say it. I have no issues with it at all. Now, if we want to go in deeper when it's done, I'd talk to my lawyer and I would go deeper because there's more to this than has been publicly talked about, because it's not just on this case. There's other situations. That's all I'm saying. I would not be touching that with a 10-foot pole of any of those players. If I was a GM, I'd say, hey, you know what, guys? Good luck. Someone else can hire you. We're having our own individual guidelines on what we're not going to do. That's what I would do. That's my own. I can't speak for any team. I'm speaking for myself here. I wouldn't do it. Don't think it's worth it. Let's get to the 2-minute warning now with Cam Tate, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC unit. Stay cool all summer. LegacyHeating.ca. Here's Cam Tate, of course, Tater, longtime journalist in town. Cam, born with cerebral palsy, he's in a wheelchair, whose disability was never able to be on the radio until now. To the wonders of technology, Cam's words come to life in the 2-minute warning.
You know what? They're Gregor. And listen, big congratulations to your son for winning his first soccer tournament on the weekend. We always remember our first of everything, so enjoy. Now, back to your dad. Gregor, I can't, and perhaps more importantly, will not blame Connor McDavid for the tone of his end-of-season press conference. And before that, how he slid in the F-word national TV shortly after Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. Making it to the finals 2 years in a row and coming up empty-handed can evoke such raw emotion. And if anyone thought McDavid was going to all of a sudden pull a signed contract from under the table at his press conference last Thursday, they were inevitably dreaming. He's 27. Father Time certainly is skating away at perhaps faster than we like. When you have the God-given talent like McDavid has, not winning a Stanley Cup could say things about McDavid's tenure in the NHL. Perhaps that's very unfair. But a real possibility? Absolutely. McDavid is right in not jumping the gun to sign on the dotted line. With his experience now, and with McDavid's knowledge of the game, it safely can be said he knows what holes need filling. We all know that, don't we? But dare I say nobody, and I mean nobody, will be watching and dissecting the Oilers' moves this summer than McDavid. Like you, Gregor, I strongly think, yes, he will sign here. But he has made it clear he expects changes. And by doing so, Connor McDavid will have made the Edmonton Oilers better. 2-minute warning with Cam Tate. Gregor Show. Sports 1440.
Yeah, he's having a little internal pressure. I don't think is a bad thing. I think Oilers fans can take a big, deep breath and not stress about Connor McDavid re-signing in Edmonton. The term is the only thing that's probably up for debate. Final break. We'll come back, wrap things up on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Find the perfect tractor for any job at Edmonton Kubota. Their massive selection of compact tractors has something for everyone, whether you're tackling small tasks or big projects. And right now, take advantage of 0% financing for up to 72 months. It's never been easier to get the power and reliability you need. Come down to Edmonton Kubota today and drive away with the tractor that's just right for you. Edmonton Kubota, where your perfect tractor awaits.
With all the news about tariffs and price hikes coming our way, you have to be strategic with your money. St. Albert Dodge knows that and has some good news for you. Right now, all Ram 1500s are available with 0% financing for up to 72 months. So think about it. You can get into a brand new Ram 1500 right now at pre-tariff prices, while selection is still good, and pay 0 interest on your financing. That keeps more money in your pocket. And that's how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
You don't have to wait. Boxing Day is back at the Brick. For 4 days, shop incredible deals, like mattresses starting at just $99. Save big on genuine leather sofas and sectionals. Queen beds start at only $199. And save the tax when you buy 2 or more major kitchen appliances. Plus, get free local delivery on outdoor furniture purchases of $499 or more. Some exclusions apply. See you in store for details. Boxing Day starts Friday at the Brick, saving you more.
Imagine a family get-together where the smiles are as genuine as the conversations. That's the feeling you get at Nisku Ford. a family-owned dealership where finding a new Ford feels just like catching up with old friends.
Make sure to swing by Nisku Ford in June to take advantage of 0% financing or choose a total savings of up to $18,500 on select 2024 vehicles.
The coffee's on, so drive into Nisku Ford or visit niskuford.ca today. Above expectations.
Need a solid foundation without the fuss? Richard and Kalina at DCL Pile Driving have your back. Locally owned, they offer straight, driven piles. No screwing around. Serving all of Alberta, DCL Pile Driving gets your foundation ready in hours with minimal ground disturbance. Perfect for tight spaces, whether it's for a deck, grain bins, or RTMs. Tell them the radio sent you and receive a special discounted rate. Call or text 587-322-PILE. DCL Pile Driving. Don't get screwed. Get piles driven.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and I know there's no such thing as a free lunch. But when you bring your used RV to No Bull, I'll give you a free roof assessment. Now, what do I mean by that? It means we'll climb up and take a real close look at all the joints and connections and seals on your roof, and give you a written report on what's going on up there.
How often do people get up on the roof of their RV, Rick?
Not often enough, Bob. You should do this twice a year.
Would I know what to look for if I did it myself?
Maybe. Depends on how experienced you are in RV maintenance. But remember, there's no free lunch. There's a 1 out of 10 chance I'm going to sell you something. But what I want to sell you is a small repair. The kind we catch before there's a lot of water damage, rather than the kind that costs you thousands once the leak is visible from the inside. And 9 times out of 10, the assessment is really free. And it's also free to know you'll be safe and dry this camping season.
And that's No Bull.
NoBullRV.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Culligan for all your residential water needs. Your local water treatment company, more than just big bottles. Culligan.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Oh, a little Ozzy Osbourne on the crazy train on a Monday afternoon. Sports 1440, sports1440.ca. Got lots to get to. Hey, boys, what about Nashville? Don't they want to shake things up? Do you think they'd actually consider Saros to ask him to waive his no movement clause? Comes from Mr. Lister. Well, I guess anything's possible. You look at Nashville. Like, remember last summer, and I said it before the season, I said I didn't really buy what Nashville was selling because they didn't have any centers. They signed all wingers. And now I didn't expect, I'll be honest, I never thought they would be 14th in the Western Conference. I thought maybe they could, compete, push for the playoffs. Wasn't even close. So they're gonna have to do something. I just don't know, like, what would Edmonton, like, if you let's just for fun, okay, they're gonna trade UC Saros, right? Let's just say that became a thing. Well, what is Edmonton? What can they offer? First of all, Saros got a pretty big ticket, right? $7.7 million for like the next 8 years. So yeah, 8-year deal. So that, first of all, do I want UC Saros, smaller goalie, for 8 years? I guess if you're a believer in, well, I'll worry about it later. Okay, but so you'd start, I guess, Stuart Skinner goes. So there's $2.6 million. Edmonton needs to move. Would they take Kane and Skinner? And Kane's got 1 year on the deal. Like, I don't even know if they really want Kane. So from what, like, they got enough for, like, they don't need another winger. So I don't even know how you could facilitate a trade that would be realistic for Nashville to want to do for Edmonton. And like, I like UC Saros, but it's maybe for a young goalie. He's just played a lot, right? Like, that's the thing. It's not like some goalies are 30 that haven't played a ton. I remember Dwayne Rolson. Like, Dwayne Rolson came in here, never really been a starter. He could be a starter for another 6, 7, 8 years. There wasn't a lot of tread on his tires. A little bit different for UC. So I'd be hesitant of it, to be honest, because it's an 8-year deal. That's my concern. Tomorrow on the show, we got lots more draft talk. Also, we'll talk with Spec a little CFL. Maybe we'll even get Luke Wilson on the show. We'll see. Have yourselves a wonderful Monday evening. On behalf of Connor Halley, everybody else, it's Jason Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Let's get to the Conman Sports 1440 update brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Get in the game. Use the promo code Gregor40. And remember, $40 million at Lotto Max. Get your tickets, PlayAlberta.ca. Good night.
The Sports 1440 update.
The Anaheim Ducks have traded forward Trevor Zegras to the Philadelphia Flyers for forward Ryan Poling, a 45th overall pick in this week's draft, and a 2026 fourth-round selection. Zegras had 12 goals, 32 points in 57 games last season with the Ducks. The Edmonton Oilers have acquired 2006-born forward Max Grant from Tri-City for the 37th overall pick in the 2025 import draft, a first-round pick in the 2026 prospect draft, and a third-round pick in 2029, also a conditional fifth-rounder in 2027. Brutal news for the Pacers as star Tyrese Halliburton suffered a torn right Achilles in Game 7 last night. Per multiple reports, he'll likely miss the remainder of the 2025-26 season, and the Dallas Mavericks signing center Daniel Gafford a 3-year contract extension worth nearly $60 million, keeping him in Dallas through 2029. Major League Baseball right now, Orioles up on the Rangers 4-0 in the 6th. Early on, Braves lead the Mets 3-0. Yankees up on the Reds 1-0. The White Sox at home trail the Diamondbacks 2-0, and the Pirates have a 1-0 lead over the Brewers in the 1st. Also, Twins, Mariners, Cubbies, Cards, both scoreless later tonight. Angels host the Red Sox, and the Nationals are in San Diego. That'll do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Coming up next, we've got Fox Sports Radio all night. Live local coverage resumes tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. with Kevin Carius and Brandon Douglas. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download